All right, let's get started. This time, how long will we last? How long will we last this time? Was the stream taken down due to everything I was saying? I mean, one would think. But let's be real, no one watches. So, no, the gateway was unplugged for a little bit. And that's no good. So where were we? Let's start from the beginning and maybe make this to where I can keep my monetization. Look, man, Activision through Call of Duty, for what they did with Call of Duty, what they did with the FaZe guy, they showed to me that they believe celebrating Pride means teaching 7-year-olds how to be a homosexual. So what does that include? What does that include? What do you think? Why would anybody in their right mind think that? Well, that's what Activision believes, and that's not me being hyperbolic. I would even be hyperbolic if I said Activision actually celebrates, believes Pride Month is about having the kids be exposed to hardcore gay sexuality, pornography. Because let's look at this. There was a guy in the FaZe clan on Call of Duty, a gamer guy, and he lost his in-game skin, his custom skin, because all he said was leave the little kids alone. That's all he said. He said nothing inflammatory towards homosexuals or trannies or any of that stuff. Okay? That's all he said. But that's all it took for Activision to say, nope, can't say that. That's problematic. And we celebrate Pride over here. So it'd be like, what do you mean you celebrate Pride? What do you mean that's too far? Tell me more about that. That's right. This is the big baby. Let's go put this on the screen here. Here we go.
Brawls break out between parents and LGBT activists outside a school board meeting. In response, Nick Merckx of FaZe Clan simply stated they should leave.
That's all he said. They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue. One statement, 2 sentences. That's it. But Activision has a problem with that. And the only takeaway that seems reasonable is if they have a problem with leaving kids alone, that means they want kids to be targeted by Pride Month stuff. They want kids to be taught how to be gay. Look, let me tell you something. No one at the goddamn school should be teaching these kids anything about sexuality, okay? If you want to sex ed, should be like, beware of STDs, wear a condom, be safe. And that should be like in high school. What are we talking about? That should, like, they're talking about little kids. They're talking about elementary school. That shouldn't even be an elementary school, okay? But this isn't saying that Activision has a problem with this, okay? All right, I saw it out there. The Activision, people saying Activision are cool with pedos. You could probably say that. I mean, they seem to associate celebrating Pride with grooming kids. But let's play the rest.
The little children alone, that's the real issue. That Activision Blizzard gets activists triggered as Nick has his own custom character in the Call of Duty video game. Then the official Call of Duty account states...
he'll read it for us.
Due to recent events, they removed Nick Merckx' bundle from their store because they're focused on celebrating Pride.
So they're celebrating... Their focus is celebrating Pride. Okay? See, I wasn't making that up. All right? So it'll be like, then what does that have to do with targeting little kids? Like, if you want to be the most hardcore homosexual and suck 1,000 dicks in a row, guzzle buckets of cum or whatever you want to do with your gay fantasy or lesbianic fantasy, if you want to be sisters with everyone, it's gross. I don't want to hear about it. But you do you. It's sick, It's not something I would do. But whatever, just leave the kids alone. But they see it other. They want to target the kids.
To remove Nick Merck's bundle from their store because they're focused on celebrating Pride. So Nick went on stream and explained his statement.
I saw parents brawling in front of a school with kids. I just didn't.
That's right. There was a bunch of parents brawling in front of a school, and there was provocateurs there. There were, because the LGBTQ Antifa type whatever, and that's the thing, man. The people protesting at the school, like protesting, wanting the school board to groom the kids. When I say groom the kids, I mean teach them, to educate them about what it means to be a homosexual and a lesbian and a tranny. We're talking about 7-year-olds. We're talking 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Teach them math. Teach them how to read, okay? Teach them things that are practical, that make sense. You shouldn't be talking to them about sex stuff, especially at that age, okay? Leave that to the parents. And any parent out there that wants the other way around, you're asking for your kid to be groomed. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If you're a parent and believes it's the school's responsibility to teach your kid how to like sexuality, then you're asking for your kid to be molested. You're actually sending your kid to schools telling the teacher to molest them. That's what you're saying. I'm just but I mean, you are to have that sort of conversation with a stranger that has authority over them. Come on.
Like it. My wife and I just had a baby. Brand new father. But her and I agree that we want to be the ones to talk to our kid.
That makes sense. Even when he's saying here, there's nothing about it that is provocative. There's nothing in what he's saying that it's that would warrant any sort of like hate mob or anything
About things like that. I just don't think it's any place for a teacher or a school. I don't think it's the place to speak about things like that. I didn't mean to upset anybody. I know that I did. I'm not apologizing about the tweaks. I don't feel like it's wrong.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the statement. Just leave the little kids alone. Leave the little kids alone.
Sadly, where we are in the world right now, companies are so deathly afraid of the woke mob putting them in their crosshairs that they dare not allow parents to have opinions about their own kids. Because let's be clear on what the protests were about.
So why are you here today? We're here because the school planned on having an assembly to talk to our kids about matters that we think that the kids are too young to talk about just yet.
You hear that, right? The school board wants to teach elementary kids, school kids, about sexuality, about what it means to be gay. So read them a book about what it means to be gay, that a gay couple are two guys and they fist each other in the ass, they fuck each other, things like that. You think that should be taught to a 7-year-old or 8-year-old or 10-year-old? No. It shouldn't be taught to anyone at school.
Why is it bad for these children to be exposed to this sort of ideology?
Well, because they're too young to talk about sex, and you can't talk about same-sex
Straight up, honest answer there.
families and couples and relations without talking about sex.
That's right. That's right. You really can't. You can't talk about these identities, these sexual identities, without talking about sex. It's in the very fabric of the term. Okay. Man.
We just don't think that 7-year-olds are ready to have those discussions yet.
Now, what would you
Right.
say to people that would say that this is probably, or that you hate gays or hate people that are part of the LGBT?
Hey, if telling gays and lesbians and trannies to leave the kids alone means you hate gays, then we have gone far beyond the event horizon. We have gone way too far. We accepted, we have tolerated, whatever happens between consenting adults is one thing, but now they're going for the kids. And they told us this. They told us this was going to happen. Look at this. This meme is not just a meme. This is reality. This is what's happening. Let us get married. Bake our cake, you bigot. Use our pronouns, you bigot. Allow minors to dance for us in drag. Let teachers choose your kid's gender. And go to jail if you don't tell your boy he's a girl. Virginia Democrat to introduce bill to prosecute parents who refuse to treat child as opposite sex. The government should not be involved in that whatsoever. Hopefully that bill gets destroyed. If that bill does get any support, you keep track of who supports it, and you make sure that they're out. Okay. You try to use the system, you know what I'm saying? You try to vote. But I warned you about this. There was a video not too long ago. But the gay choir group saying they're coming for the kids. That wasn't a joke. They're telling you exactly what they want to do. They're going for the kids. They want to groom them. There's a reason why in the gay community there seems to be almost an acceptance of pedophilia. There's a trend in the gay community of older men perping on younger boys. The reason why they do that is because those boys are gullible and don't know any better. They tell them that the gays are fucking in the ass, get them all sorts of drugs and alcohol. The kids end up killing themselves because they weren't gay. They were just given a lot of drugs and alcohol and coerced into shit. Okay? Look, man. The LGBTQ going this far, they need a reality check, and all these boycotts, which we see in response to companies going way too woke, going too far. I hope it continues. I hope it continues. The stuff with like Bud Light and Target, and now we have Call of Duty. I stopped playing Call of Duty. I don't play Call of Duty. So I don't have to do anything. The only games I really play anymore still are, I play a lot of Halo. Okay? But those are the old Halo games. And I know for a fact Microsoft is woke. I know for a fact 343 they probably exchange dildos. They probably blow each other. Okay? They probably do all sorts of gay things in the office, right? They're probably having gay orgies. It's probably mandatory. Okay. When we officially find out, I guess I'll delete it. Or I'll just play the old game. Halo 1. I don't know. But I can easily delete it. But let's learn more about this video.
Community.
Right. I hear them screaming no more hate. We have not hated anyone. We have been in this community for years. The rainbow flag has been in the school for years. The transsexual teacher has been at the school for years. There have been no incidents, no hate. We also are not protesting them. We're protesting the LAUSD and the school,
which turned into fights between the predominantly Armenian community and activists. That devolved into actual brawls outside the school. But the more interesting aspect is, it seems the activists are getting a lot of out-of-state...
Oh, by the way, I watched a lot of those videos of the scuffles, the fights between the Armenian families and we just call them Antifa. The Antifa guys were definitely instigators and provoking that shit. Okay? And this part doesn't surprise me, that they would bust in out-of-state support for their cause. Yeah, man, you got to think everyone that's like Antifa and LGBTQ plus supporter in that crowd, they 100% probably have child porn on their fucking phones. They probably see it on the regular on Twitter and Instagram or whatever. 100%. 100%. If you're that committed to the cause, you are into kid fucking. If you're that committed to the cause of LGBTQ and Antifa, and to the point to where you want, like, you really want drag people to dance in front of kids with their ball sacks hanging out and all that stuff, then you're into kid fucking. Okay, if I mean, let's look at it. Let's see. Look, watch this.
Support, and apparently some of the
look at this guy. This guy right here. This guy. You tell me he's not a kid fucker? He's a kid fucker. He wants to be a kid fucker. This guy right here. This Antifa guy is super woke. Woke vigilante, okay?
The activists that were arrested outside that school don't even have kids that go to that school or even have their own kids. Where Andy knows.
That's right. They don't even have their own kids because one, their kids, if they had kids, are probably taken away from them because they were sodomized. Even though what's ironic about that, they were taken away from the parents that sodomized them, and then they'll be in foster care, and they're gonna be sodomized in foster care. Foster care kind of sucks. It might be fortunate to have a good foster care family, but you know, just because they haven't been caught yet doesn't mean nothing happens. Anyway,
don't even have kids that go to that school or even have their own kids. Where Andy No reports one of the activists arrested actually had been arrested before involving a crime against a kid. So,
which doesn't surprise me. But what I said, what did I say? You think it's hyperbolic? You think, yes, I'm talking out of my ass partially. Yes, it is a little hyperbolic. Yes, it's very inflammatory language that I'm using. But we're in this extreme time right here, okay? We're talking about a group of people that are protesting. Let's be honest, the parents were there because they're protesting the school board, what they're doing. And these LGBTQ militia people are just vigilantes, whatever, come in and want to antagonize, instigate. And you tell me they're on the right side. You're telling me they're not a bunch of kid fuckers. You tell me they have the best interest at heart for kids. No. They're a bunch of groomers. They're a bunch of fucking groomers, okay? 100%.
It actually had been arrested before involving a crime against a kid. Something just quite isn't adding up here, but the more insane part is, why does a video game company need to take a side at all? This is
right. Don't take a side. Don't say anything.
The Wii Spa incident in Los Angeles all over again, where LGBT activists swooped in to stab several people in the name of protecting someone they claimed was in their community, who actually turned out to be a long-time offender with a horrendous criminal history.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We covered that on this channel. Oh, man, that mom was so pissed. Can we find that video? Can I find that video right now? Man, that was such a long time ago. Man, that mom was furious because there was a naked man in this ball next to little girls with his balls all hanging out at a day spa for women. And they couldn't remove him because he identifies as a woman. Identifies as a woman. Why are we even here? I thought feminists gave a shit about women. Apparently they don't. They don't. Because if anyone can identify as a woman, then what does it fucking mean? It means nothing. If it's just how I feel like a woman. There you go. I'm a woman now. Let me into your spaces. I'm going to go into your locker room. Try to kick me out? Fuck you, bigot. So what if I'm taking pictures? So what if my dick is out? It's a penis. Get used to it. So what if my penis is rubbing against your pussy? So what? Get used to it. Oh, okay. Get used to it. It's insane. It's insane where we live. This is stupid. We see the Wii ball. What was it like? The mother, angry. Oh, is this the one? Oh yeah, this is the video. This is the video.
Wii Spa. So
this video is so cool. This mom is so angry.
You don't, so it's okay. I just want to be clear with you.
Oh, she's angry and she sounds a little black. She sounds black.
It's okay. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis
Show his penis
around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying?
They're saying yes, they're super woke, and your little girls need to get used to it. It's a penis. It's their opportunity to learn what a dick is. We Spa supports pedophiles. That's what they're saying.
Like I asked, it's so he could stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick.
What sexual orientation? I see a dick.
It lets me know he's a man. He's a man.
That's all you need. Okay, the documentary about what is a man is super simple. What is a man? There's a dick. There you go. You're done. What is a woman? There's a pussy. Okay, you're done. You're done there. Those two documentaries are over. Okay? Matt Walsh really didn't have to spend all that time. I never actually really seen that thing. But didn't have to go around and make a whole documentary asking a bunch of questions. Could have just put a pussy on the screen. That's a woman.
He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. He is not a female. Hold on. He is not a female, sweetie.
Yeah, he's not a female.
Okay, girls down there, other women who are highly offended for what they just saw. And you did nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And they can't do anything. They never will. Get used to it, sweetheart. This is the LGBTQ progressive future you're in. You keep voting Democrat. That's you're gonna have to go red. You might lose some things. You might lose all the social services. But they may not even confront it. They might not even help you because you're gonna have to do it. Actually. You're just going to have to boycott them. That's what you're going to have to do.
You sided with him. So We Spa is an agreement.
You're just going to have to burn it down. Just burn We Spa down.
That just say
hypothetically,
they are a woman
they're boycotting.
And they can go down there with their penis and get into the women's section. Is that what you're saying? What really? What law? What law? Everything back. So women can go into the men's with their breasts. Okay. This should happen. We're not going to come back. Yeah, you shouldn't. I wouldn't come back either. Yeah, get your money back. Everything. You got a man with his penis come back.
My favorite part is when the white man comes over to correct her because she's being such a bigot. Watch.
It's a woman. He ain't no woman. Yeah, give her money back. Are you talking about a transgender person? There's no such thing as transgender.
Identify the gay guy on the screen. I mean, there's one wearing a cowboy hat. Look at this. This guy has AIDS. Okay, this guy's walking up with AIDS. All right.
He has a dick. Okay, he has a penis. His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not.
You're being a dick. Mr. AIDS wants to go head to head with pissed off black mom.
Okay, he has a penis. His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not one. Actually, I'm a woman who knows how to stand up and speak up for my right. As a woman, I have a right to feel comfortable without a man exposing himself, okay? No, you go somewhere else. Okay, so that's right. No, he's not a transgender. He has a penis, just like you do.
Man, this is so basic. I love this. This is I forgot about this. I completely forgot about this. This was so cool. This was so freaking cool. People are waking up. People are tired of this fucking shit.
Are you? So I understand. No. Yeah. Okay. It's not okay.
It's not okay.
Okay. That's traumatizing to see that. I'm a woman. I think this is a place right here. I'm told only for women. So how dare you sit up here and tell me I don't have a right as a woman to defend? I'm telling you, he has a penis. A full and testicles, okay?
But he has no response to that. It's like he has a dick and balls. oh, but it could be a transgender. That dick and balls could be a pussy. Because that's how it works, right? If you're a man, you have dick and balls. Yeah, because as a man, you would have dick and balls, and they might be tiny, but you have a dick and balls. If you say you're a woman, all of a sudden they just change. No.
And I don't care what it's a man. You got one? You're a man. Okay.
And if we went into the men's section with our anatomy, that would be...
Well, of course. See, this is what's fucked up. If women go into the men's section fully nude, of course it wouldn't offend the men. Men would love that. Men would love that. Okay? This is why I think this whole trans thing, anyone can identify as a woman, is really, it is misogynist if you think about it. To use that feminist word right there. Like, if you're a trans person and you think all it takes to be a woman is to say you're trans, you fucking hate women. You fucking hate women. You're saying that women mean nothing. There's nothing. You could just put on woman face, girl face, and act like them, and there you are. Actually, you don't even have to do that. You just have to say they are. As you say you are a woman, and there you go. You fucking hate them. You fucking hate them. In fact, if you are in a woman's space with your dick and balls hanging out, and then you look at her as she's offended, and clearly disgusted by the whole thing, and you're trying to be like, well, what's the problem, ma'am? What's the problem? I'm a woman. I'm a transgender. That's something that a fucking bigot would say. That's something that like a fucking misogynist would fucking say. Someone who hates women would fucking say. It's crazy, but that's how I see it now. I see it. It's not good. It's not good at all. But yeah.
Probably, but you might not like women, so it might not. Okay, and we don't know. But for me and for a lot of other women, they do not feel comfortable, and it's not okay. Okay. So, well, yeah, you're sorry. You should be, sweetie. And you're out of alignment. And this is not right. I can tell you that much. All right? And I know you're out of order. Yeah, it must be hard. It must be hard.
He probably has AIDS, too.
Man, huh?
He's going to die, though. He's going to overdose and die. Don't worry.
So, like I said, I want every woman get all of their information.
What I mean by that is don't worry about him having AIDS or worrying about his condition. Okay, I didn't mean anything offensive by that. So don't be offended. I know some people in the chat might be offended. A few people watching. That segue was nice. All right, let's go back.
Claimed was in their community, who actually turned out to be a long-time offender with a horrendous criminal history. And this
is that true? See, I didn't follow up on that. Who was the Weesball offender guy? Weesball offender. Charges filed against Darren A.G. Amredger, a Weesball case? Man, that's 2021. Still at large with history of indecent exposure. Yes! Yes! Creepers, man. Creepers see this as an opportunity to really, really take their creep game to the next level. Think about it. If you are some creeper fucking slimy guy and you've been wanting to sneak into a woman's locker room and all that, do like a whole Porky's thing, if you know what that is, this is your opportunity. I mean, there's a situation right now, actually, where there's a guy who claims to be a woman, is in a sorority now. He's in a sorority. Supposedly, there's been times, they claim, where you got to watch him go in and out of the showers naked with his boner out. But he was there because he claimed he was a woman. And this guy is a fat piece of shit. Let me sorority trans woman. I'll put trans woman. It's gonna come up as a dude. I'm gonna put this on the screen and you tell me, what is this? What is this? What is this? Is that like, that is not passable. That is not passable. Let's look at this one. Find the one that really stands out. What? So your free trial. In this photo, oh man, he's cropped out. Man. Really? Come on, man. Even my screen crop, it doesn't like him. But you see his face on the side, the very far side. This woman, I should say. Man, all these ads, Man, these ads just do not stop. There we go. This one's better. Well, this one's easy because the only one not masked. When you spot it, be like, oh, that's wait. You said there was a that is that a woman? Is that you say he's a woman? I mean, she. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean he's now. Wait. Are you sure about that? I don't think he is. It's a guy like that. Yeah, he's in a sorority. They can't kick him out. They can't kick him out. And they're having a bad time. They're having a bad time, but he's having a great time because he gets to see all these ladies naked. He gets to see all of them naked, and they can't do anything about it. He can go into the rooms and be like, "Who's ready for scissor time?" And they can't do anything about it. They can't do a damn thing. The LGBTQ, it's really the T. The T's fucking everything up. The T is fucking everything up. They're fucking it up hard. The T and the G, the part of the G that really wants to go for kids. And really, you would say they're P's, which aren't even part of it, but they are part of it. But they're the missing letter. They're there. They're the cheese pizza connoisseurs. They're the pedos. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, let's go back to this.
This is playing out the same exact way. Nick Merckx simply stated, "I want to raise my baby how I feel best." So someone...
Right. Nick Merckx just said a simple thing. All the things I said here in the stream are very, very crazy and would never be sponsored by anybody. Okay? Nick Merckx, all he says is leave the kids alone. And Call of Duty says no. Activision says no.
Employees from Activision Blizzard, in a rush to punish anyone who dare challenge their narrative, somehow aligned a billion-dollar company with fringe activists that are willing to travel state to state to get into physical confrontations with parents to ensure they can show kids adult material. It's...
Pause. I wonder if there's people within Activision who are like hardcore into LGBTQ. Chat. What do you think? I'm gonna ask the 7 people watching. If there's 7 people, I don't know if there's 7. I don't know. I'll just guess. Oh, okay. Throw some more likes if you can, please. How many people in Activision are like hardcore into LGBTQ? Like they're gonna, like they're committed to the cause. What do you say? 80%? I'd say 80%. The 20% probably not. But 10% of that 20% probably or actually the whole 20% would be silent though and just kind of pretend, to protect their jobs.
such an incredibly unpopular opinion, we're even starting to see regular people in the LGBT community trying to distance themselves from these activists. Because we saw how many people were siding with Nick when he was explaining his position. And on Twitch, he has over 6
Right. He has a lot of followers on this, and there's a lot of
7 million followers with over 4 million subscribers on YouTube. Once a streamer crosses a certain threshold, their audience is watching because of the person, not whatever activity made them popular in the first place. It's not like he's famous for playing baseball and would suddenly need to learn how to play ice hockey. Looking at Steen, there's plenty of first-person shooters he could play.
Exactly. He could play any other first-person shooter. He'd be like, fuck it. Then I'm not going to play Call of Duty. And if I played Call of Duty, I would quit. You know? I'll join that boycott. It'd be super simple.
Instead, and Call of Duty isn't even in the top 5 of the most popular games. So when Call of Duty ousts Nick for the mortal sin of having personal views during the month of June, Call of Duty is facing backlash everywhere online. Popular streamer Dr. Disrespect calls him pathetic. George.
Oh, speak of that. This is what Dr. Disrespect had to say.
If you don't know the news, yesterday, it just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. That Call of Duty, Activision made the decision to pull Nick Merckx's.
Well, it's. Let me adjust the volume. There we go.
Skin and bundle off the game. For that.
For a simple statement. For just leave the kids alone. That's it.
You know,
That's what he
Champs,
said.
I mean, just imagine. I mean, he's one of us. He's one of us streamers, right? I mean, to get your own skin and bundle and that whole collab.
Which, by the way, he makes money off that. Anyone who buys that skin and that bundle, you know, he gets part of that. So he lost money.
Collaboration on the biggest shooter franchise out there and be one of the first to do it.
I don't know much about Dr. Disrespect, but I do dig his aesthetic. You know I fucking do. I look at this guy, I'm like, oh, I get what he's going for. And he's fucking good at it. Okay? It's like a whole fucking world. I'm like, I don't follow any fucking video game streamers, but if I did, I'd probably follow him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I do follow him. I don't watch really. I think I watched one of his streams one time. That's for like a minute, 2 minutes. I was like, oh, okay.
Do it. In Call of Duty, that's such a massive accomplishment, you know? And he worked hard, years and years, built a nice community. He's a great representation of a streamer gaming, you know? And just like that, he made it, got it in there, and they pulled it down.
For just saying leave the kids alone. That's all he said.
That's a fucking tough one, man. That's a tough one. For what again?
There's dramatic pauses.
So what I got to do? What we got to do?
Is he always in character all the time? I believe he deletes his Call of Duty right there. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely coming for the kids. Look at this meme once again. This is how it started, man. Let us get married. Bake our cake, bigot. Use our pronouns, bigot. Allow minors to dance for us in drag. Let teachers choose your kid's gender. And then you go to jail if you don't tell your kid or your boy that he is a girl. This is where we're at. I didn't even know about this. I didn't know that there was a Democrat in Virginia that wants to introduce a bill that will prosecute parents who refuse to treat a child as opposite sex. This is stupid. The government should not be anywhere this involved with the kids like this. The school shouldn't. These politicians shouldn't be. Leave the kids alone. Fuck you and your fucking delusions. Fuck you and your fucking mental delusions. If my kid comes in and says, I think I am a boy or a girl opposite of their current gender, I'll be like, but you're not. Don't. It's my right as a parent to say that too. I'm their parent. And besides, I know that they're just saying that just to say it. They're not really sure what they actually even mean. I'm not going to entertain that delusion. It doesn't make any sense. It's insane. And let's go back to this.
Which Alexopoulos questions why Call of Duty seemingly groups pride.
Yeah. What does pride have to do with not leaving kids alone? That is a big question there. I wonder.
With people specifically targeting kids in grade school, with many others stating that they're deleting Call of Duty and boycotting the franchise altogether, while others find it ironic when Blizzard Activision doesn't quite have the moral high ground, where they recently had to pay out $35 million for their own harassment issues. So now...
Oh, yeah. We can't just brush over that. So, this is true. This happened. They had a whole thing where... apparently there was like sexual harassment in the workplace and stuff. It's a big deal.
To pay out $35 million for their own harassment issues. So now Call of Duty has dwindled their consumer base to the blissfully ignorant, as anyone that followed the Nick Merckx fiasco knows that supporting Blizzard Activision is just giving money to triggered activism, and the LGBT community that Call of Duty tried to align with, they already know that sure, the company tries to be inclusive as possible with special in-game flags for them, but when it really comes down to it, those values go out the window to align with whoever's currently paying them. And I imagine Nick Merckx is smart enough to know never bow down to the woke mob.
And that's
because
true.
we recently covered.
I mean, there's a reason why, like, you know what? I was starting to think about how when they try to target, when they do business in the Middle East, those accounts with that association are not going to use the flag. They're not going to put that on that. Because let's just face it, they're based. They're based in that regard. So maybe we could say that we could learn from from the Saudis. We can learn from them and be inspired to just rise up and tell the LGBTQ to back the fuck off. You could be gay in your little gay clubs or whatever, but don't bring your gayness to schools. Stop being a Gestapo. Don't be a cry bully. Stop doing that stuff. Because we had enough.
Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Anthony Bass apologizing for sharing his religious opinions on social media.
Got on his knees, huh?
And as of right now, I'm using the Blue Jays resources to better educate myself, to make better decisions moving forward.
Better educate himself? He has to go into re-education about how to be... Does it include sucking a dick? How many dicks does he have to suck, huh?
Well, now he's going to be paraded around as a...
They're going to use him as an example. They're going to make an example out of him. Oh, man. They might also just give him like a rainbow cape.
Featured catcher for the Pride Weekend celebration. Because with the woke mob, it's not enough that you submit. You need to be made into an example so everybody knows what a bad dog you've been. Because regular fans are no longer going to idolize and aspire to be the next Anthony Bass. And the only fan base he's left with is a group that cheered him on when he was apologizing and submitting to being re-educated. He can't turn his back on the woke mob now because then everybody would find him cowardly. But I do
that's pretty true.
Understand what Call of Duty is trying to accomplish. They want to please everybody, so everybody from everywhere will come play their video game.
Though I think I think the conservative-minded people would be forgiving. I think they do tend to be forgiving. So he just has to stick to it.
And the sad part is, it's incredibly easy for them to do it. Just shut the fuck up and make a fun video game. Nobody
It's
played
that
Sonic the
simple.
Hedgehog and thought, this is fun, but I'd have more fun if I knew Sonic had 2 gay biracial dads. So if you appreciate my...
He doesn't. So this was a fun exploration into the situation regarding Call of Duty and the boycott on the situation, you know. I'm kind of curious if we could find some more information as well regarding this. I wonder, it's probably too soon to see if it has any real effect on Activision stocks or anything, and it's probably too soon for that. Let's see if I go through Twitter. I'm gonna scroll through this. I'm just scrolling right down, making sure there's no like porn or boobs or anything, because sometimes that comes up. All right, we'll just have some memes. Meme review here. Call of groomers. So if there's not intention to molest children, why do they get offended? Now, is it going to be prohibited to suspect anyone just because the person is LGBT? So how many people are going to take advantage of this censorship? Never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, a gay man, a gay or trans activist, why they're so interested in your children. Right? It seems to be. It seems to be that. Let's see. I deleted Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and 2 Crash Bandicoot games and all the Call of Duty themes. Now I hope Microsoft will buy Microsoft Blizzard and fire these people. But Microsoft is woke too. Don't kid yourself that Microsoft isn't woke. Activision Blizzard standing up with the pedophiles during Pride Month. Dr. Disrespect Muslim families, Christian families, Call of Duty fans, and myself. Yeah, that's right. Oh, is this true? Did Rainbow Six say no to the LGBTQ stuff in the flag and Siege? Is that true?
Can you fix it, bro?
I don't need the music. Fact check this. Let me know if this is true. Can we have some LGBT stuff in Siege? Why would anyone ask that? Why do you need that in a game? I think it'd be nice to have a charm or something. I like the idea. Just a flag. Please. No? Is that true? Oh, man. I played Siege a little bit. I think my friends still play that. My IRL friends. So there's Rainbow Siege. Not have a pride flag. I see a Reddit post. Can we get some pride flags in the game? No. Is this a real post? Oh man, this is so great. Can we get some pride flags in the game? I know some people wouldn't like them, but it would be cool for us LGBT members. Why do you need that? You don't need. Why? So you can walk around and everyone know that you're gay, or lesbian, or trans. Just why isn't that important? Why is it that important for you? Like, I don't understand how anyone could to have so much pride in sucking dick or eating pussy. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I'm a straight man. I don't go around saying, guys, I am straight. You know, I'm not going around saying, you know, in a video game, being like, guys, you know, on the headset, guys, I am super straight, dude. I'm just so straight. I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why would an LGBTQ person want that? I think it's just a thing of vanity. It's dumb. You want a piece of flair to indicate what you are? Okay. I don't get it. You want a rainbow? You think you're special? Look, sucking a dick doesn't make you special. Look, being a trans person doesn't make you special. Okay. I like this. No, I don't want anything related to politics added. I like that response. Let's see. I'm an LGBT member, and I just don't see the point. Does it really matter if a game exactly have pride flags? How does adding the flags into the game change anything? Exactly. It doesn't change a damn thing. Then it'll be like, oh, can we get some, other flags, other imagery, other symbols in there? I like that. So play Rainbow Six Siege, guys. You play Call of Duty, play Siege. Play Siege, okay? There's this one. People used to play video games to get away from it all. Now, you can't even play Call of Duty without being overrun by trans the kids activists. Nick Merckx, leave little children alone. LGBTQ. And I took that personally. Oh, man. Yep. Press F to pay no respect. Yeah, I like that. This is where we are, guys. This is where we are. Average Call of Duty player. Oh, man. That's good. That's good. Man, I hope they seriously get a reality check. I hope they get a hardcore reality check. With that said, I think I'm done streaming. I think I'm done for tonight. I seriously thought this stream was going to get taken down in midstream. The stuff I was saying in the beginning, I was wild, man. I was coming in hot, coming in real hot. Oh, man. There's something else we could get into, but we're an hour into this, and it's a totally different thing. And I don't want it to get buried. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm not done streaming just yet. Do y'all know about the death clause? You know what? I might make this its own separate stream. Its own separate thing. Might have to. No. I'll do it right now. I was just thinking about the topic being bundled with all this pride stuff. Okay, let me get this ready. All right. So we had enough of the pride stuff. I had enough talk about pride. Okay, it is time for us to learn about the music industry's darkest secret. The Blue Jays released a pitcher who dared to support the boycott. Oh, was that the same guy? So I don't follow baseball that much. Is that the same guy that he was talking about in that video? This pitcher? It looked like he was not released, though. It looked like he was doing re-education.
Well, now he's going to be...
Anthony Bass will catch the first pitch on Friday to begin their Pride Weekend celebration. So yeah, you'd have to fill me in on that. Anthony, well, that's so. Is he released officially? Let me check this. I know there's a delay on YouTube. Anthony Bass. That should just come up. That should just be news. Blue Jays cut Anthony Bass to end a story of pride, prejudice, and PR. Fuck you. Fuck you. Who wrote this? Who wrote this fucking garbage of a fucking article? Fuck you. I don't understand. I really don't understand what's so prideful about being gay, lesbian, trans, or bi, or any of that shit. So what if you suck a dick? Who cares? You don't have to go around announcing it to everybody. Do something productive. Stop going around and gloating about your sexuality. We get it. You're gay. We get it. You're a tranny. We get it. You're a chick with a dick. At least you want to be a chick with a dick. All right. Yeah, I'll carry on and do something. Ah, man. That's where we are now. Sucking a dick is a thing of pride now. That's so bullshit. But yeah, Blue Jays cut pitcher, it's true, it's real. Well, no re-education for him. I guess the re-education didn't really work out very well. Well, he could just join another team, maybe. I don't know what he's gonna do. He'll figure it out. Hopefully. All right. The music industry's darkest secret. A 6'5" dude is the best female college swimmer. Right? Exactly. See, this is why I'm like hesitant about starting this other thing, because it's gonna totally change the topic. Because this next thing has nothing to do with pride whatsoever. But we're doing it. We're doing it right now.
Today's video is brought to you by Babbel.
We're going to skip this
Now,
part,
as someone who basically failed every English class in school, but somehow ended up doing video essays...
Music industry's darkest secret.
To the fact that language I feel in un restaurant don't vale porque it was...
Skip all this crap.
65% off your Babbel subscription.
All right, here we go.
The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs. The death of another rock musician was disclosed today. Jim Morrison, 27 years old, lead singer of The Doors. His manager said Morrison died 6 days ago in Paris, either of a heart attack or pneumonia. But the death was kept secret to avoid a sensation.
Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of the enormously popular rock band Nirvana, is dead at the age of 27. More now from NBC's Brian Williams.
The international
Courtney Love knows what happened.
music industry is in shock with the death of rock star Michael Hutchence. The body of the INXS lead singer was discovered in a Sydney hotel room late this morning.
The Hollywood coroner says an overdose of narcotics is responsible for the death of the well-known rock singer Janis Joplin. Ms. Joplin was found dead in her bedroom last night.
Exactly what happened inside the iconic Beverly Hilton remains a mystery.
Whitney Houston.
Paramedics raced to the 4th floor and found a lifeless Whitney Houston inside her hotel room bathtub.
Both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died.
This is about the death clause. What we're getting into is about the death clause, okay? We're done with the pride stuff. It's time to move on. All right? Let's get ready for this.
I don't think many people at first glance would regard being a popular musician to be particularly deadly. But looking at the data, we see something rather peculiar. According to a study conducted by the University of Sydney, which sampled 13,000 different artists across 7 decades, it was noted that a popular musician's life expectancy was up to 25 years shorter comparable to the general population. Furthermore, accidental death rates were between 5 and 10 times greater, suicide rates were between 2 and 7 times greater, and homicide rates were up to 8 times greater. The study suggests an average life expectancy for musicians that are male to be in the late 50s and women in the early 60s. At first glance, these numbers are hard to contextualize, so let me give you something to compare it to. This is the same life expectancy you'd expect to see for a police officer in Buffalo, which has been labeled the most dangerous city in New York. Or if we're talking about the 90s, a male musician has a shorter life expectancy than a coal miner in China in the 1980s.
Well, that puts it in perspective there.
These numbers make it clear as day that the true price of fame in the music industry is up to 25 years off your life. But that's not to say that fame is this deadly across the board. In another study that sampled 1,000 different notable people from 2009 to 2011 from all professions, they found that those notable for their work in business, politics, or military generally lived longer than the national average, while writers, performers, and other creative types were only noted to have their lives shortened by a year. So what is going on with the music industry in particular?
Are these people being killed for money? Are they being eliminated for money?
While we've established that the music industry is particularly deadly, the vast majority of the literature on the phenomena seems to isolate this to just 1 or 2 things, such as the added stresses from fame or the ease of access to substance, or that creative types tend to be more predisposed to mental illness. While there's no denying that these factors definitely play a role in this phenomena, perhaps there's a bit more to this story. While much of the formal research on this topic scrutinizes what is wrong with the artist as an individual, perhaps it's better in this case to focus on what is going on within the industry as a whole. Because if you shift focus away from the individual to the industry, and you pause for a moment to think about the financial incentives of the music world, you'll notice something incredibly concerning. Music is one of the few industries on the planet where someone's work is worth significantly more to a company after their passing. Generations are remembered by the art that they leave behind, and the easiest way to be remembered is to be hailed as a legend from that time period. A premature death can take an artist from a good artist to a legend, which can in some cases solidify an artist's recording catalog to be a cash cow for decades to come. Think about this for a moment. When an artist signs his name on the dotted line to a record company, the record company will in many cases own all of the masters for the songs recorded under that contract. And when an artist signs to a major label, it's safe to say that their death is in many ways factored into the initial investment. And in many ways, after an artist has peaked in popularity, there becomes an awkward point in their career where the artist is worth more to them dead than alive.
So you think something nefarious could be happening? You think they could be being killed?
Mad at him due to the business that he did.
Yeah.
And I can't even say mad, is that they didn't have a part of it. Let's be real. I'm gonna say it out there straight for everybody listening. My uncle didn't die. He was murdered. I feel the same thing about Prince. We're losing a lot of stars because you have to remember, these are basically insurance policies. When he dies, whatever was owned by the company reverts back. We're not talking about $100,000. We're not talking about $1 million. We're talking about billions of dollars. Notice that when my uncle dies, why do you hear all his music? Why is there a Motown cartoon out now? Okay, well, obviously when my uncle was alive, he wasn't giving the rights to anybody. But when he dies, all of a sudden.
So, what if the artist owns their own stuff though? It still just goes back. That's insane. That's crazy. The record company is gonna have it. Oh man! And they're gonna make all sorts of decisions with it. Man.
It's pretty incredible to me that all of us have kind of heard this anecdote about musicians dying at a young age, but every time this happens, nobody casts an ounce of skepticism about this kind of thing, or how much these people are worth dead. That, in my opinion, is the true dark side of the music industry. And it seriously does not help that social media in the modern day has made artists' deaths even more lucrative. As one Nielsen executive had stated in 2016, if Earth, Wind & Fire's Maurice White passed away 10 years ago, you might have read about it in a paper and then waited until there was a store open, he said. Now the news cycle travels extremely fast, and you get more awareness. The instant gratification is there. You can buy it or stream it, and it magnifies the consumption. Now, instant gratification is definitely an interesting word choice from this Nielsen executive, especially considering some of his other comments in the same article. This was different from other years, Dave Bakula, Nielsen's senior vice president of Industry Insights, told the Post. The news cycle is very viral. I've never seen a year like this before. The number of big-name artists passing away. The music industry is getting an extra boost from the celebration, he added. Notice that the author of the article here had to add this for—
Oh man, they're like vultures, man. But yeah, that's true. That's true. Right? When an artist dies, their stuff starts trending again. They go viral again, you know? Wow. Yeah.
For context. But obviously I am nitpicking a bit.
And then who's making the money then? It's not the artist. Hopefully the artist has some sort of estate set aside, or some, you know, maybe some sort of arrangement where a family member will get something. But I don't know. I don't know, man. If they don't have that, it's going directly to the record company.
All of you probably know what this executive is talking about. Whenever an artist passes away, everyone comes out to show their respects on social media, and this effect has an uncanny ability to run up sales numbers. While in recent history it's been labeled the Prince effect, we have known for quite some time that an artist passing can be lucrative. But just how lucrative it is, we are just now getting to measure the effects more closely in the modern day. One paper titled Music, Death, and Profits lays this all out for us. Notably, this was the first study of its kind to show the long-term effects of this phenomenon. In their study that monitored 81 artists who passed away from 2015 to 2017, they found something pretty disturbing. Our findings show that a rate of sales does not return to pre-death levels, but instead is in most instances persistently higher even several years after the death shock occurs.
Holy shit. So they sell more after they die. Oh, I'm sorry. Your stuff's not selling anymore. But if you die, it will start. It'll start selling a whole lot. We got to sell more singles somewhere, albums. We're going to have to... Wow.
Album sales leapt a staggering 226% on average, just on the day the artist died, and they doubled overall on average for the first 100 days. For bigger artists like Prince, the effect was even more pronounced, as he saw a 16,000% increase, while other large artists saw very staggering numbers as well. Furthermore, looking at the album sales for other rappers who have died young, we see that almost all of them see commercial success they never saw in their own lifetime. As if the financial incentives weren't already way...
You think about that? That really puts this in perspective, doesn't it? And you gotta think, who profits from that too?
As if the financial incentives weren't already way too far in the wrong direction, this actually gets a hell of a lot worse. Because there's a clause in record contracts that allows record labels to cash in even more after an artist's passing. This has been going on since the early days of the music industry, and it's quite literally a standard practice. It's called the death clause, or the non-performance clause. Now, this is one of those lesser-known details in regards to record contracts, but the former manager of the Grateful Dead, Hank Harrison, wrote about this some years back. Essentially, it goes something like this. Company shall have the right to secure insurance equivalent to 10 times the estimated value of the artist's earnings.
10 times? Okay.
From any source of revenue for company's sole benefit. Company shall be allowed to employ any insurance carrier or combination of the same to assure this benefit and need not consult or require signature compliance from the artist. Company shall keep such information confidential, except that the company may disclose information to the applicable insurance carriers or as required by law. Artist or artist's estate shall have no right to review or claim the benefit of any...
Holy crap. So when they die, the artist or artist's estate shall have no right to review or claim benefit? Then what I was saying earlier, I hope they have some sort of estate there. What the fuck? Holy shit. That's a fuck you clause right there. This clause isn't good. This clause does not benefit the artist or the artist's future or family. This is you die and the record company gets everything you have ever fucking done, and they make 100% profit on all of it. None of your family gets a goddamn cent. You have no legacy. That is insane.
Such policy obtained by the company. And to quote what Hank Harrison later wrote in this article, he states, "In short, here is what a death clause does in my humble opinion. If an artist fails to perform or pay back advances, the artist becomes more profitable dead. Today, the hit clause still exists, but it is more subtle, and whereas it used to be worth thousands, it's now potentially worth billions. Labels invest millions in new talent, and the insurance policy is a protection against loss or a way of collecting projected profits for music, t-shirts, books, foreign rights, and everything else in all forms." Now, I want to clarify one thing here about the death clause, and it's that this type of life insurance, also known as key man insurance, is actually a standard practice in other industries as well. And depending on how you look at this, it's honestly just a smart business move given how much money they invested into them in the first.
Oh, sure, it is a smart business move. It's a genius business move. The fact that anyone in science is like, can I have that removed? Nope.
Twice. But normally when an employee dies in other industries, there is a pretty significant loss of revenue. And this insurance is designed to make it so the company can stay afloat until they find a replacement. But in the music industry, this is just them double dipping.
Yeah.
Now, in case you're unfamiliar, record deals are structured like a loan, also known as an advance. A certain amount the artist gets to keep for living expenses, and the rest will usually get poured into the cost of making an album as well as marketing it. While the specifics will vary from deal to deal, the premise is pretty much the same across the board. Only after the label is paid back in full will the artist receive any royalties on the music recorded during that time. And assuming all goes well with the contract, the process will repeat with a new contract and new debt. If they don't succeed though, or paying back the label is taking too long, or the artist is trying to get out of the deal, then the death clause conveniently helps the label collect.
Oh, man. Man. That's some trickery right there. That's some freaking trickery.
What's more, as bad of a reputation as record labels may have, they aren't the only ones with perverse incentives. The artist also has to consider that his own loved ones might be out to get him as well, presuming any family members may be included in their will. And if that wasn't bad enough, it has become a far more common practice for artists nowadays to sell parts of their recording catalog on brokerage sites like Royalty Exchange. And I'm just going to flat out say this right now, it's only a matter of time before something bad happens with one of these Royalty Exchange platforms.
Oh, really?
As one article from MarketWatch stated, buy some of the rights to a rock star's music and you're likely to see a big bump in your royalties if he or she dies suddenly. It creates some awkward incentives. Don't be surprised if this turns up as the plot to a Hollywood thriller.
Buy some rights to a rock star's music, and you're likely to see a big. Yeah, we talked about the big bump. Talked about that. It jumps quite a bit.
Sometime soon.
But they have to be known, though. If they're a nobody, then what does it matter?
So yeah, nowadays, basically an artist has to worry about literally anyone and everyone potentially having a price on their head.
Industry Rule 4080. Rule 4080. So, yeah, Rule 4080.
Now that you're aware of what a death clause is, I think it's important that I give you a textbook example of this so you can see how this usually plays out. And just know for now, while we will discuss many other mysterious deaths in the music industry later on in this video, for now I'd like to draw your attention to the story of Bobby Fuller. After Fuller moved to LA in 1964, he was signed to a record label by the name of Del-Fi Records, owned by producer Bob Keane. Keane was also the band's manager, and given the fact that it was called the Bobby Fuller 4, Bobby was the frontman. Shortly after the band had scored several hits like their cover of I Fought the Law, on July 18, 1966, Bobby's success in the music industry would be cut short. After receiving a mysterious phone call in the early hours of the morning, Bobby was believed to have left his Los Angeles apartment at 3 a.m. Before Bobby left, his road manager had been half asleep watching TV in the living room. He vaguely remembered that Bobby might have been going to see a girl named Melody that night. After heading out from the apartment, he took his mother's Oldsmobile. This is well produced,
man. This is pretty cool.
And he would set off into the night. As the day turned to morning, Bobby failed to meet up with the other members of his band for rehearsal later that day. Around 5 p.m., a couple other visiting musicians had come to see Bobby at his apartment. They claimed that when they were driving up, Bobby's mother's car was not there. Bobby's mother, Lorraine, also noted this. She had been keeping an eye out all day for Bobby to come home. After the two visitors came into Bobby's apartment, Bobby's mom then went to go get the mail. To her surprise, the car was there.
Huh.
Upon closer inspection, she found Bobby lifeless inside of the car. He was found lying across the seat, where the entire car reeked of the smell of gasoline. There was a 2.5-gallon gas can found below the driver's seat, and a gas hose was also found nearby.
Very convenient.
Upon discovering Bobby in this state, Lorraine called the police. And when they...
How could he possibly have been in that situation? I mean, so he what was the plan? He drives back home to the apartment and then drinks gasoline to kill himself? Like, why?
When they arrived, they took a quick look at the body,
Something tells
and they
me
ruled that
that was
Bobby had
staged.
taken his own life from drinking gasoline. The authorities quickly discarded the gas can and called it a day. The car was never dusted for prints. The police didn't interview anybody, and all in all, it was an open and shut case. Later, it would be revealed through the autopsy that there was no gasoline found in Bobby's stomach.
Oh, he didn't even drink the gasoline. It was just a prop. Yeah, it's a ruse.
Where the coroner later stated that Bobby had died due to inhalation of gasoline fumes, classifying Bobby's death instead as an accident. A finding that nobody, not least his own mother and family, agreed. Multiple witnesses noted that it appeared that Bobby had been beaten up badly and had a broken finger.
Oh, those are clues. Those are important clues that the police should definitely note and look into. How did that happen?
There was blood found on his shirt and face. Multiple witnesses, including Lorraine, also made the comment that it looked like he had been dragged on the ground, and his body showed various scrapes and injuries. The coroner claims that they were mistaken. He claimed he found no bruises, no broken bones, and no cuts, or evidence of a beating. Instead stating, body in full rigor, skin slip due to high temperature in car.
So it was written off as a cover. Come on, man. Didn't even look into this. It's like they either didn't look into this because they're lazy, or they were like they kind of knew that. I want to say they were just lazy, because otherwise it means they were all in on it somehow.
Bobby's body had been found in a full state of rigor mortis, meaning that he had been dead for some time. Considering that the car hadn't been in the...
So he couldn't even have driven it. A full state of rigor mortis. You're not going to just drive back home, inhale some gasoline, and then within minutes or even an hour be in full stage rigor mortis. That's not how it works.
A lot for more than 15 minutes. This quite literally made it impossible that he could have driven up on his own.
Right.
And given the sheer amount of gasoline found in the car, it appeared that someone had been just moments away from setting it ablaze. According to an article from Spin magazine, in 1983, Rick Stone reported that he was sure Bobby's head had been doused with gasoline. To this day, Jim Reese maintains that he saw a half-burned book of matches and a burn on the vinyl of the backseat of the car. Assuming the car failed to light, this meant that the persons responsible were lurking nearby. Rather interesting when you factor in that Bob Keane had just so happened to magically appear at the scene within moments.
Oh, really? Well, so was this a hit to get rid of him? It seems like it.
Now, Bobby's story is essentially a cautionary tale of what can happen
I mean, if he's worth more dead than alive
in the music industry. And to quote Rod Crosby, the lead singer for the band The Intruders, Bobby Fuller was vulnerable by virtue of his honesty and naivety. If he had been a streetwise, bitter person, maybe he would have survived. He lived on a high plane of idealism and fantasy. He was swept into the maelstrom of rock decadence and was a victim of a ruthless business. Essentially, Bobby had become worth more dead than alive behind the scenes. He had a life insurance policy taken out on him for about $850,000, while
Damn.
all of the other members of the band had policies at around $100,000 each. In the days before his death, the band was on the verge of breaking up. One member was getting ready to return to his...
Oh, yeah, can't have that. Can't have that. You're going to break up. They're going to lose some money. The record company's going to lose some money. Yeah, this was a hit.
Family after touring. Another member was likely to have been drafted into Vietnam. Infighting was rampant, leading to Bobby replacing one of the members, and the two musicians from earlier were new potential replacements for his current band. Essentially, Bobby Fuller had had enough of his management. Between them failing to fulfill orders for his recent single, and the fact that Bob Keane had been micromanaging their sound, often making artistic decisions which led to their worst financial failure, the Magic Touch, which in spite of heavy promotion through payola, it still was not a commercial success. But that wasn't the only financial problem going on behind the scenes. The label had wanted Bobby to continue touring. he decided to bail on that.
Oh, really?
Had Bobby walked away, the label would have presumably incurred a large financial loss between the recent failure of the Magic Touch and the tour that was cut short. But if he were to conveniently die in an accident, let's say a mysterious car fire, then the label could easily turn a profit.
There you have your motive.
Had the coroner ruled it being self-inflicted, the label would not have been able to collect due to a common clause in life insurance policies. Then in the months after, the coroner switched the death ruling to an accident. Conveniently, this was the most lucrative outcome for the label. Now clearly there was something off about the way the police and the coroner handled this case. I should add that the police have never once refuted the timeline of events I've shared with you. But if you are a frequent viewer of this channel, you know that all too often when you see this type of behavior from officials, it's usually a pretty big hint that you're dealing with matters pertaining to organized crime.
It seems like it, yeah. Like these guys seem like they would be like mobster types.
Additionally, in Bobby's case, when 2 private investigators were hired to look into his death, both of them quickly quit the case. Both refused to talk to the press, and one had claimed that they had been threatened. In the days after Fuller's death, 3 mysterious tough guy types showed up outside the apartment of another band member, Jim Reese. They had essentially broken into his apartment only to find that he wasn't there. Jim to this day swore he had no idea who they were, but it definitely concerned members of the group to the point that they were thinking that they could have been next. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So were there any ties to organized crime? Many sources on this subject bring up the silent partner in Bob Keane's business, a man by the name of Larry Nunes. Larry Nunes was essentially the man financing Fuller's career, and Nunes was the actual beneficiary who was set to cash in on Fuller's death. Now the key word here is silent partner. Organized crime is notorious for using frontmen for almost all of their business dealings, and to quote the Chicago Tribune, as the schemes got more complicated, mobsters needed the help of lawyers, politicians, and frontmen with relatively clean criminal records. It was a Faustian bargain. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the term Faustian bargain, it essentially means a deal with the devil. Throughout history, there have been a number of Faustian bargains, but in present day, you'll notice that almost every...
I like the depth that this documentary goes into. This is good. Barely Sociable. Now, this documentary is like an hour and 30 minutes. Are we committed for this whole thing? I say we continue.
Every person who claims this comes from the entertainment industry.
You're still out here doing these songs, you know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my hand.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with you know.
He sounds tired. He sounds fatigued, you know.
With the chief commander.
Bob Dylan.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Now, I should also let you know that Bob Dylan has quite literally been playing a never-ending tour since 1988, adhering to a heavy booking schedule of 100 shows a year. He crossed 3,000 shows in 2019.
Why so many?
And despite him being 80 years old, his vocal performances becoming unpredictable, and him randomly changing the lyrics of his songs on a night-by-night basis to the point that they become unrecognizable, he's still touring. It sort of makes you wonder if there's something preventing him from retiring, especially given the fact that the overarching data on this industry shows that most musicians don't live to the age of retirement. But to be fair, perhaps he just really likes playing shows still,
he is.
Or perhaps he was saying this for publicity. And
it also doesn't help that he's an artist, and artists tend to sometimes talk in that sort of way. So it'll be like, what do you mean he made a deal with someone in another world? You know, what do you mean by that? artists tend to be kind of weird people, you know. It's kind of part of it. That they tend to see the world in a different way.
To be clear, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. There's definitely a lot of interpretations for this deal with the devil analogy, but all you need to know for now is the fact that at least one of these interpretations includes making a deal with the underworld. And going into this next section, I want to say that we will tie up the stories with Bob Keane and Larry Nunes and Bobby Fuller here in a bit. But for you to really see how the death clause fits into things, you need to understand the entanglements between organized crime and the music business. So we're going to explore a few of those, because Fuller...
I bet the association's actually more than most people think. I'd imagine with prohibition and stuff that they would have a very close association with organizing performers, bands and things. Because if you're selling alcohol, you also have the entertainment. You have to have the entertainment and the booze.
Fuller's case is far from an isolated incident.
Tonight, the first of 5 segment 3 reports on what we have chosen to call crime rock.
Oh,
there's a lot of corruption
in
the music business because there's a lot of money in the music business, in records, cassettes, and in live performances. That kind of money attracts all kinds of unsavory characters who don't know much about music but do know a lot about crime. Brian Ross reports.
Police say much of the trouble for Rare Earth came from this man, Joe Ulo, a reputed mob enforcer from New York who moved to California a few years ago and moved into the rock music business. One of his first targets was Rare Earth. In 1969, Rare Earth was on top. Its first album, a double platinum record, selling more than 2 million copies. The good times, the hit albums, and the big money only lasted for 3 years. And then, Rare Earth began having trouble paying its bills and traveling expenses. Police say that's when Ulo and the mob moved in.
When a band or a management company and band run into trouble financially, that's when they come in. And they are heavies. And they'll promise you anything in the world and say that we'll give you whatever you need. We believe.
Wait, I'm trying to imagine this. Like, so if a band doesn't perform or doesn't live up to their obligations, like some big burly thugs come in, you know, intimidate them, pick up that guitar. You're gonna play that guitar. You're gonna sing. You're gonna write some lyrics.
Leaving you and blah blah blah. But meanwhile, they have to have a percentage of the business. And I'm talking about loan sharking and all the way down the line.
By 1976, Ulo was boasting to his associates that he had taken over a hidden interest in the rock group Rare Earth by providing mob money and mob muscle to take care of Rare Earth's debts. But the mob's backing did little to help the group's music. Rare Earth's records
they sucked?
Didn't sell well,
know who Rare Earth is.
And the group that had once made millions was almost out of business. Peter Orlbeck, the group's drummer, says he was getting visits at home from strangers who wanted to know if he was hiding any of the group's money.
Oh, that's not a good conversation.
You see, we were 6 guys that were creating lots of money in which lots of people were enjoying. And we were a motor. And all of a sudden, the motor stopped running. And when a motor stopped running, it started affecting a lot of people. So you don't know what's going to happen.
Joe Ulo was arrested last year for the...
I mean, that's a great way to put it, man. That is a great way to put it. What I say about artist types, you know? That metaphor, there's nothing I could add to that.
Former basketball star Jack Molinas, and police say members of Rare Earth are lucky no one got hurt. It was a different story for the Three Dog Night, and police also are investigating Ulo's relationship with this rock group. The accountant for the group was shot in the arm and paralyzed in what police believe was a mob dispute over control of Three Dog Night. The group has since broken up, and police are still investigating the shooting. The members of Rare Earth say what happened to them could happen to any rock group trying to make it big in the rock music world.
Anybody that makes a lot of money, they're susceptible to being come on to by certain people if they run into money.
Come on to? Oh, okay. You didn't phrase it. Okay. I'm just messing. We did start talking with the pride stuff in this stream.
Problems, and if they're not smart enough to handle it all.
And that kind of thing can shut down a group.
Oh, instantly. Instantly. Because then if a group becomes paranoid of their safety in any way, shape, or form, you can't go write a song. I mean, you have to have total relaxation and feel good about yourself in order to write good material that people will accept.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to be in a good state of mind. Answering the chat, Fishman, Deadman, are you declaring war against the gay mafia? No, there's no war. It's just leave the kids alone. Can't leave the kids alone, then there's a problem.
I mean, it comes through in the music. You can see it, you can feel it, and you can sense it.
This example with Rare Earth is probably one of the most common hidden arrangements. Art is known for drawing in people with an interest in money laundering, and given how risky it is to invest in musicians, many narcotics traffickers use artists as a way to launder dirty money. And if the musician succeeds, then that's an added bonus, which can be used to make even more money if they're able to go on tour.
Paintings.
In Rare Earth's case, it was more notably an example of loan sharking. But there's honestly no shortage of examples I can give you from history. There are a lot of bands that were made off drug money. For example, the largest manufacturer of a substance that starts with L and ends in SD was the financier behind the band The Grateful Dead. Had it not been for him, they largely would have never succeeded.
So they were a thing because of drug money. Okay, that makes sense.
In the present day, many DJs are just fronts for selling narcotics.
Of course.
And you'll often see that rap groups are often fronts for illegal activity.
Right.
But that's not to say that gangsterism is exclusive to rap in any capacity. Frank Sinatra, for example, was known to have been a mob-connected musician, one of the most successful, largely due to his mob ties. While never prosecuted because they could never build a case against him, he was known to have been close with many famous mobsters like Sam Giancana, the legendary mob boss of the Chicago outfit for a time, as well as reputed mob boss Lucky Luciano, the first mob boss of what would later become the Genovese crime family. When Sinatra first started in the music business, he had rose to
That name sounds familiar. Do you guys know if that mob family is mentioned, well, in any of those those mafia movies?
Prominent singing in Tommy Dorsey's band. After his notoriety outlived the band's usefulness, Sinatra was stuck in his contract with Dorsey. The story allegedly goes that Sinatra's management offered $60,000 at first to get him out of that contract, but when Dorsey refused, Sinatra turned to his godfather, Willie Moretti, the New Jersey underboss of the Genovese crime family. Rumor has it he threatened him, and curiously, Dorsey let him out of that contract shortly after for $1. You see, Sinatra had to be watched closely by the powers that be. He had political influence, wealth, and close business dealings with very powerful people. This is why you'll notably see a lot of references to Sinatra in rap music. But this arrangement isn't just found in the American music industry either. In research pertaining to cartels in Mexico, music management is listed as a risk-tolerant method of money laundering. And on top of that, to quote this paper, it is unclear whether the music groups participated willingly or under duress in this scheme. In one version of events, groups were targeted by the organization that forced them to participate, in addition to paying extortion quotas. However, an anonymous music industry expert revealed that some groups that had yet to become popular accepted organization money in exchange for producing records and writing songs that praised the organization. Once the music groups became popular, they could participate in the scheme because they could go on tour. In this sense, the organization would invest in lesser-known groups in the hopes that the songs would become popular and allow them to go on tour. This arrangement
That sounds like a pretty good arrangement in a way. You know, it actually sounds like a pyramid scheme. It kind of sounds, it sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Was unstable, according to the music industry expert, because once a group becomes famous and no longer needs the capital from an organization, it may seek to pursue an independent music career. However, if a group or any members of the group tried to sever ties with the DTO, they were often executed.
Wait, what? That is a huge escalation right there.
Our segment 3 this evening, part 2 in a series of 5 on crime in the rock music business, or how in some cities they might but don't advertise a rock concert brought to you under the auspices of a band of hoodlums. There is so much money in it, so many guitar players becoming millionaires in their 20s, gangsters have seen an opportunity and moved in. as reported now by Brian Ross.
This is Jerry Michelson, a rock concert promoter in Chicago.
By the way, you ready for
This is Arnie Granite, Michelson's partner.
Melissa Manchester just canceled her whole tour.
As rock promoters, they expect problems. Last-minute cancellations, managers, agents, temperamental rock groups.
For the marquee tomorrow night, we cannot fit fabulous poodles across the marquee.
Fabulous poodles.
But what they never expected was trouble from the mob, and that they would have to turn down concerts because of the people involved. And in the
seeing that old tech, the old phones, man, that's something.
Summer of 1977, Michelson and Granite turned down an offer to be part of promoting
Hey, look how skinny the people were back then. You know, with all that high fructose corn syrup and all that sugar.
of the biggest rock concerts ever held in Chicago. This is Soldier Field, and the three big concerts held here were called the Super Bowl of Rock, with estimated ticket sales of well over $2 million, and the biggest names in rock music appearing. A federal grand jury is now investigating allegations that the mob ran these concerts, suspected of bribing city officials.
No way.
To get an exclusive on concerts in Soldier Field, booking rock groups through frontmen, and driving up the price of concert tickets.
Driving up the price of concert tickets? Oh, that's not something that goes on today with Ticketmaster and stuff, right? Oh, man.
All part of a huge mob scheme to make big money in the rock concert business. One of the men under federal investigation is Victor Comforti, last photographed 20 years ago when he appeared before the McClellan Senate Rackets Committee. Comforti works out of this heating and air conditioning company on Chicago's west side. A number of rock concert promoters from around...
Is Ticketmaster a front? Yeah, you tell yourself that it's them that are skinny and not you that are fat. I know I'm fat. I'm over here drinking beer.
Around the country are believed to be close to Comforti, and federal investigators say this garage has become an important meeting place in the rock concert business. Terry Bruner of the Chicago Better Government Association investigated the concerts. He says Comforti was the godfather of the Soldier Field concerts.
He goes way back in the history of organized crime in Chicago. And I think that it's pretty clear that he was the person who was the go-between between the rock promoters and the city officials who were concerned. If you talk to enough people in the entertainment business or the rock business, they're going to tell you that this kind of thing goes on all over the country and that they know ahead of time. We're not even going to bother with Chicago. There's too much hassle, as they say. And I think that's a code word for you've got to pay off. And I think that it's pretty clear that these people had to pay off in the city of Chicago.
One of the people who says he was a victim of the mob scheme at Soldier Field in Chicago is rock superstar Ted Nugent. Police estimates based on aerial photographs of the crowd at Soldier Field were that as many as 90,000 people were in the stands. But the promoters told Nugent there were only 56,000. And Nugent says he was cheated out of more than $100,000 in his percentage of the ticket sales. You lost a lot of money there, didn't you?
Well, again, you know, it's hard for me to walk away from a gig making $250,000. And
Man, what the hell, dude? We're looking at a very fucking young Ted Nugent. What the fuck? God damn.
And realize that I lost money. But yes, the people paid to see Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent should get his money.
That's true. His logic holds up. Hey, you know, I can't complain. I shouldn't complain because it is a lot of money, right? But what was it? I shouldn't complain because I already made a lot of money. But at the same time, if people paid to see me, I should, you know, then Ted Nugent should be getting the money. Yeah, okay, yeah, holds up, yeah.
You consider yourself an honest businessman?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Do you, though?
Yes.
Has that hurt you in this industry?
I would say so. I would say that it's definitely hurt us being honest and operating in an honest way.
It is difficult. Over the years, there's been times when it's been difficult. We've had to make hard decisions like that.
Not to make a payoff, not to skim, not to cheat.
Yeah, those decisions have had to be made. There's been easy money out there at times. There was ours for the taking.
In this hall in Nebraska, it is still possible to put on a rock concert without the mob. But in Chicago, and in a number of cities in this country, promoters, managers, and rock stars have to go along with a lot to put on a rock concert.
Now, this type of criminal entanglement, just like many others going forward, you're going to notice a trend. There are examples of corruption from the very beginning, and there are also examples of circumstances in the modern day. For example, many nightclubs and many concert venues are just fronts to launder dirty money as well. There's no shortage of articles that you can find nowadays about venues getting busted. But this goes...
You know what? As we're getting deeper into this, you think the mob is still involved? First off, do you think the mob is still really a thing? Or has it, like, elevated to something else? To, like, disguise it even more so? Through, like, maybe corporate. Instead of being like a mob family, it's like a corporation, like an entity. And maybe there's certain... I'm curious about that.
Goes far deeper than that. So let's start with Coachella. One of the largest, most famous, and one of the most profitable music festivals in the United States and the world. That was started by one of the biggest traffickers of the Devil's Lettuce in California, Gary
really?
Tovar. His promotion front was called Golden Voice Productions.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I didn't
he would
really know
take
much.
losses on paper, but launder his money through the promotion business. And the shows would give him a cover to also sell more product. Now, there's something very interesting that happened.
Yeah, there is definitely a gay mafia out there. And they are definitely running the show right now.
When a venue becomes a front for illegal money, assuming the management doesn't skim from the artist, and there's some actual honest business going on, relatively speaking, the bands actually get paid very well. To quote an article from OC Weekly, the singer of TSOL, Jack Grissom, explained, "When he started paying us more than anyone else in the country would pay us, I mean, it pissed people off. Gary really started paying these bands what they were worth. We'd play a show, and the show would be packed, and a band would get $100 or $200. Gary was the first punk promoter who actually paid what they deserved. Well, if we all got what we deserved, we'd all be in jail, but it was unlike any other promoter. Everyone wanted to be on Gary's shows, and
right,
it only was a
being a
short
little too
time
honest.
before he was the biggest promoter around." Now, I can only speak for what is available online, and there's actually a lot of positive stuff said about this guy. Like, he helped a bunch of bands get started, he would fly them out, he took a lot of losses, he was very generous as well. In fact, even when the feds busted him in 1991, a bunch of the groups that he had promoted early shows for would go on to thank him by doing a banquet to raise money for his legal fees. And he was known for promoting a bunch of bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, Nirvana, as some of their earliest shows, all before they were widely known. Now, obviously, the business wasn't going as...
I'm not really hearing a bad thing from that, other than the money's coming from like drug money, from marijuana, which is not a bad thing.
Good while he was in prison, but in 1998 he was released, and a year later they would go on to launch Coachella as this one big music festival. While Tovar was no longer the owner, he did join back as a consultant, as he had previously signed over ownership to his employees. Because Tovar was relatively generous with his front business, unlike many others in this industry, it inevitably led to Coachella becoming a success. Now, this one is a surprisingly positive one, given that the industry's history reads like a hall of rogues. But in reality, I had to restore your faith in humanity for a bit just to talk about this next character.
Okay.
Because when it comes to the shady business of music venues and nightclubs being used as fronts for illegal activity, this goes back to the emergence of organized crime in America.
Talent agencies. Oh, here we go. This is probably going to talk about booking. Okay, gotcha.
In the 1920s, the outlawing of alcohol led to
Prohibition.
speakeasies where organized crime figures like Al Capone needed a constant supply of talent to keep the drinks and illicit gambling going. This created a need for someone to manage
Oh, look at that cigar smoke, man.
these performers and book them each night, as well as orchestrate them.
Wait, was that
a
cigar?
need a constant supply of talent to keep the
No,
drinks
he
and
doesn't have a cigar. What was that smoke
illicit
from?
gambling going. This created a need for
from the camera, because the camera would make that smoke back in the old days.
someone to manage these performers and book them each night, as well as orchestrate them getting to the underground operations. This led to the creation of a company by the name of Music Corporation of America. The guy who founded it was named Julius Caesar Stein. He was already a doctor with a great income, but Prohibition had made it so that this job...
Julius Stein. Julius Stein. Anyone want to take a guess as to how he identifies religiously? Is he Christian? Is he a Catholic? Is he a Protestant? He's not a Muslim. Is he Jewish? I mean, is he a Jew? I mean, does he celebrate worship Judaism? Ethiopian? Maybe Ethiopian. He might be Ethiopian. Yeah. Yeah, he looks like he's blackface. I could see it.
Opportunity was more lucrative than his current one.
He's a doctor, but wants to make more money with the mob.
Seemingly via the use of the Chicago outfit, they managed to extort, cheat, lie, and corrupt their way to the top, to the point that this talent agency had effectively retained a monopoly on all of Hollywood and show business. Their rise to power is straight out of the Mafia playbook.
Wait, are they still in power today?
And I want you to think about this for a moment. A business with absolutely no barriers to entry, being a booking agent, yet they'd consolidated power so much that they'd gained the nickname the Octopus because they had their reaches into everything in show business, and they had to be broken apart by antitrust. The full extent of the Mafia relations to MCA to this day is not known. Additionally, the circumstances that led it to becoming what we know now as Universal Music Group were highly questionable, with an active Mafia probe into the company going on in 1989, only for the investigation to get shut down by the highest ranks of government, with the prosecutor being completely defanged of his position for trying to pursue this case. Now, we will discuss this further, but for now, let's get back to the early days of Jules Stein. This man is essentially the father...
Yeah, that organization is still in existence today. The Decca.
Of what we know as the music business today.
You struggle to get the contract, and then the contract is sort of, you know, the indentured servitude type of thing. Our first contract was 7 albums, essentially 14 years. So I signed that contract when I was 23.
That's crazy.
That's the Smashing Pumpkins, guys.
Okay, so I'm signing at 23 years old. I'm signing a contract that's supposed to take me,
despite all my rage, I feel like a rat in a cage. That guy
into 37.
You're signing a contract for more than half your life.
And if you look at the shelf life of most artists, it's 4 to... So they're basically anticipating your entire arc.
That's so crazy.
So you don't have any leverage, you know.
And what's the over or under that Joe Rogan is stoned during this interview? Like, how stoned is he? Man, Joe Rogan has like the easiest fucking job, doesn't he? He has it made. Talk to celebrities, interesting people. But you don't really interview them. You just talk to them. You get fucking baked out of your mind. You just have a fucking conversation. And then you go, you do commentary on fucking fights. Man, who wouldn't want to be in that position?
Other than that they want to sign you, you sign the deal, and then it becomes this weird dance of like, can I sustain success?
Yeah.
If you get success and you have leverage, they'll get out of your way because you're making them a lot of money. But the minute you're not making them as much money, then they step in and they start playing these Jedi mind tricks on you. We know what to do. You know, the public's going to forget about you. I mean, I've heard all these things. Like, you know, this kind of weird, like, yeah, you're in the room, but, you know, we're the arbiter of whether you can stay in the room.
That's the weird position that record companies had for a long time that they don't seem to have anymore.
I would argue against that because
they still do.
Well, they've moved to a different set of circumstances, and I'm not as conversant as
so the involvement is still there
as I once was. But one thing they do with certain younger artists, I think particularly more in the pop realm, is they do these 360 deals where it's like, if you get a perfume deal, if you like your whole world,
they own you.
We own a piece of your whole world. And fame is such a great quotient in American life now that you can see where kids would trade fame and be willing to give away like the profit part.
Well, they'll take a risk at the long-term ownership.
Right. So let me jump in there. So if you actually survive the cut, let's call it phase 1. You're successful, you're a name, and now you're in a place to either renegotiate or your deal is up or whatever. I once had a conversation with a very powerful music executive, and I said, and I was friends with the guy, so I was like, give me the insider psychology here. Now that I know the game that you run, what do you tell people like me when they get here? And he says, oh, it's just, there's always a price. So they know that even if you get through the matrix of the whole thing and get out the other side, that there's just a dollar amount that will buy you back in.
Whoa.
They're not worried that you'll go independent. And in fact...
And I imagine independent isn't really independent. You know, in order to book these shows and really do something, I bet independent is just a ruse. It's just a ruse. You're gonna have to pay into the system. Someone's gonna own you.
If you look at a lot of the machinations of the music business over the last 20 years, especially with the rise of the internet, it's to keep people in the system.
Yes.
They don't want true independence.
It goes without saying that once enough power is consolidated in any industry by limiting competition, the workers in that industry will flock there because that's where the majority of the opportunity is. Taking a look at history, a perfect storm of events enabled Julius Caesar Stein to have a near monopoly on managing talent in the music, film, and radio business. For one, prohibition made illegal business incredibly lucrative. The second of which was the Great Depression, which in turn shifted bureaucratic focus onto other issues. Now, as you can imagine, having the backing of the Chicago outfit made limiting competition in Chicago incredibly easy. It goes without saying that if you did business with a rival gang, the outfit was likely to not be forgiving. Furthermore, clubs that refused exclusive deals with Stein were often targeted to be put out of business. In one particularly humorous example, he hired a mobster to launch a stink bomb during another set of another agency. But what further allowed Stein to expand his exclusivity network was the founding of the commission within the American Mafia.
I'm just looking at these photos here. One of these photos is not like the other. One of them just really stands out. I don't know what Tommy was doing, but like they screwed him over during photo shoot day. During picture day, like look at it. Like you see these guys are wearing suits. Tommy, it's like a close up. It's a scary mugshot looking thing, right? Like you noticed that too, right? Or is it just me? His name is Tommy. Tommy's not doing so good. Has Mr. Demon commented on the Feezer situation? What is the Feezer situation? What is that? Illuminate me to what that is. Educate me. Enlighten me. Give me the 411. Give me the rundown. What is the hot goss?
Essentially, after a large amount of bloodshed and infighting for power within the Mafia, Lucky Luciano ultimately ended up on top of the underworld around 1931. Luciano was incredibly intelligent, and he knew that taking on the role of boss of all bosses would likely lead to a shorter career. So he instead attempted to solidify the power structure within the Mafia by creating a board of directors to mediate disputes within families. The commission consisted of 7 family bosses originally, and after Capone went to prison for tax evasion...
Oh, really? Not response to the video, response to the chat. Hold on. I'll take a minute to talk about this. Oh, so sad. The Keno Casino docks their own capo on stream 2 days straight. And he cried. He cried. He cried a lot of tears. Cried a lot of tears. You know, before, around the time I was making dinner for my kids and stuff, I was catching up to the kill stream because I was like, you know what? Now with the farms really gone, Maybe I could actually help by listening, catching up on the kill stream, and regurgitating things I hear as a unbiased reporter. And it was just a bunch of victory laps, victory dances, and it's true. He's winning. Ethan Ralph clearly won. Here's another way he won here. Kino Casino doxed their own capo. Wow. Just so sad. He went against someone they liked, and they blew him up. He used to be part of America First before he went A-Log. Okay. Well, there's something that Ethan Ralph said on Friday, and it's very true. He referred to us, I'll include myself in this sphere, as we're all snakes and vipers. We're all greasy snakes and vipers, every single one of us. Don't ever think they will not betray you or backstab you. I'm elaborating here. I don't put it past the Kino Casino for doing that. Andy Worski's running the casino. PvP is along for the ride, and he doesn't have any say-so. He has a lot of weight, but he doesn't throw it around. Anyway, let's get back to the Cog brought you up, Dead Man, about the same time he was talking to. Oh, okay. That might be. Oh man, it's gonna get lost in this though. That should be its own stream. I'm interested, but it should really be its own stream at this point. Because I started with the Pride stuff, and now I'm into the Death Claws of the music industry. Yeah. So I'll stream tomorrow. There's a hair on this mic. I'll stream tomorrow, and I'll look into that. So what I'll do is I'll save this link for later.
Frank Nitti would replace that role for the Chicago outfit within months. This, in theory, should have given Jules Stein a new network of connections through this newly formed alliance, allowing him to extend his exclusivity far beyond Chicago. On top of all of that, as a result of Al Capone going to prison for tax evasion, this meant that the US government was now willing to tax illegal income, and thus stressed a greater importance in working with front businesses. Jules Stein was at the right place at the right time. To quote the book Dark Victory, Ronald Reagan, MCA, and the Mob.
All right, I saved it in my watch later, so I will check it out. I will check it out tomorrow. We'll talk about it then in more detail. Let's see. I will make it. That's 7 hours? That's a long ass stream, dude. I can't watch for 7 hours. I got a family. I got kids that I actually like spending time with. The other day, we were playing Minecraft, and Dad, being me, had to start an elaborate Minecraft build of a UFO. That thing took forever to freaking make, and it was so stupid. It was a just big, elaborate UFO, all hollow inside, and it had to get it all angled out just right, you know? Anyway, so, man, that is... Don't watch the whole thing. Okay. Just give me, like, crucial timestamps or whatever, and then I'll go from there, I guess.
By the author Dan Moldea, which, on a side note, is a very good book.
First 10 minutes?
I highly recommend that you go read it. Whether you like or dislike Ronald Reagan politically, all I will say is that nobody gets to the top without doing a few favors. But getting back to his book, formerly represented by MCA.
So Reagan is connected with the mob? Is Reagan connected with the mob? Is he? I don't know. Do y'all know?
Jones, like Duke Ellington and Count Basie, had left the agency.
Oh yeah, I'll check Cog's call with him.
In 1939, after Willard Alexander, a top MCA agent, had defected to the William Morris Agency. Jones told Maury that MCA controlled most of the big-name bands in America and Canada, and at least 75% of the entire band booking business. How has MCA become so successful, Maury asked. Well, they've devised a system of rotating bands in all of the places they play, Jones replied. The system's so perfect that without the MCA contract, a band leader can't make enough bookings to make a living, and the clubs can't get enough bands unless they sign contracts with MCA.
Oh, so they control it all. They have a monopoly on it. They have full control of it.
This system that Julius Caesar Stein created is the reason that bands go on tour to this day. Before this, they all had been playing at one location for months at a time.
Julius Caesar Stein. Payola. Pay to play.
On special segment tonight, the new payola, a sour note that is tainting the rock music business once again. It was back in the 1950s that payola became
Pay attention to this. You might learn something about the music industry. A lot of it's fake. All right, I think we're gonna get that information here.
Way of life in this industry. Record companies and promoters.
And it probably also is very relatable to current things, like things on YouTube, like YouTube channels in particular. People buying bots to fake things until they make it, like Kino Casino. Yeah, that's what they do. There's not that many people that actually care about the stuff they talk about. There's no way. This sector's kind of small. Okay. All right.
Off disc jockeys to plug new releases and to boost sales. Today, the practice appears to be back, with a group of independent promoters playing a major role, and federal authorities are investigating a possible mafia connection. NBC's investigative reporter Brian Ross has additional details.
This block on First Avenue on the Lower East Side of New York is a stronghold of the Gambino Mafia family. According to the FBI and New York City Police, the mafia capo who runs things on this block and in places far from this block is Joseph Armone, the man with the glasses, a convicted dealer who on most days can be found conducting mob business at a back table in this pastry shop. For months now, the activities of Armone and others have been watched closely by the FBI and police as far away as Los Angeles as part of an investigation of corrupt practices in the rock music business and what appears to be the reemergence of payola at rock music radio stations. This was the Waldorf Astoria last month at a black tie celebrity dinner to honor some of the early stars of rock and roll. And among the guests, two of the most powerful and feared men in the rock music business. Joseph Isgro, who authorities say has described mafia capo Armone as his partner, and Isgro's close associate, Fred DeCipio, who rarely does business without his associate, Mike, by his side. DeCipio and Isgro, each with his own company, are top men in what is called the network. About
the
30
network.
men, many at
okay.
this dinner, all known as independent record promoters, who industry executives say are getting millions of dollars a year from record companies to make sure that certain new songs become hits on certain rock music radio stations.
South Florida's hit music station.
Don Cox of Miami, one of the top disc jockeys in the country, says some promoters will do almost anything to get their records played and earn their big fees from the record companies.
Well, do you know how much money you make on having a hit record in this country?
Cox, who's had
a shit ton of money. Yeah.
Drug problem, says
so
he's
just make it a hit record. Just make it popular. That's all you have to do. Just buy the views.
Had to turn away promoters who have offered him cash, cane.
Here, take this ounce and going home. Okay. A couple $1,000. Here, you go take, you know, we can get more, you take this. And I'll give you a call Tuesday.
And what happens Tuesday?
They call you and go, how was that? By the way, I got this record I want you to hear. Now, if you take it, you got to answer the phone.
But they cozy up and they corrupt.
It's their job.
Cox on the radio.
Cox says at his station,
It's
the
pay
music
to play,
staff...
baby. Pay to play. With cash or blow. It's pay to play.
picks which records to play based on the music. But disc jockeys and program directors elsewhere, who said they were afraid to go on camera, tell the same story Cox does about payoffs of cash, cars, expensive watches, drugs, and nights with women sent over by the promoters.
Nights with women.
Another side of the payola scandal, according to industry executives, is suspected fraud involving the weekly top 40 hits charts, which determine more than anything what's played on the radio in this country.
Okay, what was number 14?
This chart, published by the trade newspaper Radio and Record, is based on calls from 250 leading rock radio stations, reporting what songs they're playing. Authoritative industry sources say independent promoters have been getting certain radio stations to make phony reports, getting records not doing so well, not even getting played, getting those records on the top 40 chart.
It's a serious thing.
Ken Barnes, the paper's editor.
It's serious, but I mean, I guess there's no consequence. Like, there's like, what could possibly happen? It's not like they're breaking a law. It doesn't really matter, does it? No.
Says about 20 radio stations were put on notice for making suspected phony reports, and two have been referred to federal authorities.
We're a trade paper. We can't be a cop. We can't really police what goes on at radio stations.
Yeah.
By industry estimates, DeCipio on the East Coast is sometimes paid as much as $150,000 by a record company for handling just one record. DeCipio would not talk to NBC News for this story. And on the West Coast, Isgro has become one of the wealthiest men in the music business.
That means if they're paying for that much for one record, how much money dude, the money they get when it's popular, when it's popping, has to be, oh my God. But just think about it now. Like a band, a performer that goes viral, how much money they make.
Driving around in his Rolls Royce, always accompanied by at least one bodyguard. Isgro would not talk to NBC News for this story. Isgro, shown here with a record company executive, is well known in the music business, and so is his bodyguard. But of 10 record company presidents contacted by NBC News, including the heads of such major labels as CBS, Warner's, RCA, MCA, none would agree to talk on camera about Isgro or DeCipio or the network of independent promoters. Some saying they feared
the big towering guy. Who's that guy in a suit? Oh, that's nobody. It's clearly not his bodyguard.
Repercussions. Off camera, one company president said, "You just can't be in business without them." A second company president said, "It's obvious what's going on." According to figures provided to NBC News by industry sources, record companies...
Yeah, I mean, if I worked at a radio station, would I take a bribe? Yeah, I would. I'll take the money in the blow. I'll be like, cool, man. All right, dude, keep it coming. All right. Oh man, this band sucks. So I'll tell you what. Let me buy a house, bitch. I'll be buying a house.
Pay independent promoters, many with mafia connections, almost $80 million a year. $80 million. And with this has come a climate of fear in the rock music business. Jay McDaniel says he was threatened by a big promoter when he tried to start a record promotion business, saying publicly he wasn't going to use payola.
Oh, this guy tries to be a Boy Scout. Now watch what happens to the Boy Scouts now.
Threats of violence against you? Yes. What was said to you? It basically came out that
they said I was a faggot.
I could have my face rearranged.
Just how important the rock music business is to the mafia became clear last month at this New York City hotel. Joseph Armone, the man from the pastry shop, arranged an unusual meeting with the top 3 men in the Gambino mafia family, including the Gambino family boss, John Gotti. In the view of the FBI, a mob summit meeting. Also observed here, Joseph Isgro, who authorities say meets frequently with Armone and other gangsters, and Fred DeCipio, who, according to his lawyer, has never met Gotti, has met Armone only twice, and has no...
It's so funny how, like, you'll see, like, the mobsters staring right at the FBI camera. In that moment, do they know that they're being watched? Or is it just coincidence?
business relationship with mobsters. 1 hour after meeting top people in the American Mafia, Isgro and DeCipio were at the Waldorf, taking their places among the top people in the...
How journalism has changed. Oh, journalism's been like this for a while. It's been like this for a long time. Oh, man. Don't get me started with the ethics of video game journalism. There was never even ethics in that. It was all pay to play. It was all, oh, who runs this magazine? Nintendo? Oh, okay, yeah, all their stuff is gonna be good. Who's paying the ads for this magazine? Okay.
The American music business. Brian Ross, NBC News, New York.
Now, there are oftentimes a lot of misunderstandings when it comes
That's
to...
why I am a YouTuber. Now, I don't make a whole lot of money. I mean, I made $0 to stream. But I do have a secondary channel that is making ad revenue. And it's actually doing okay for itself. It's fine.
To payola. You can pay to have a radio station play your song. They just have to disclose that they were paid to do it. Now, obviously, in the music business, everyone likes to act like they have 100% organic come up, like all their success just came out of nowhere. But in reality, if you know how this business works, you know that it's a bunch of people fighting over the exact same listeners. If we are to believe what industry insiders have been saying, payola never went away, and given the fact that 2,500 text messages leaked to Rolling Stone in 2020 seem to show that radio station promoters were actively stuffing playlists with the same songs, going as far as to play the same thing on repeat every 15 minutes to reach chart goals. And then the text later showed that once a song hit a chart position goal, they would swap it out for another song. Not surprising if you ask me.
Okay.
Dare I say it, but it's almost like the charts aren't an accurate reflection of what people are choosing to listen to. It almost seems like a closed system of power where only certain people are allowed to cheat. Notice how when an Indian rapper buys views to break the world record on YouTube, he gets stripped of his title and they change the rules, but when Taylor Swift does it, it's completely okay. Notice how when Jay-Z tries to create an artist-owned platform to challenge Spotify, when he fakes a world record, his company gets investigated for data fraud. But when record companies partnered with YouTube launched Vivo in 2009, Vivo magically becomes the #1 most viewed channel on YouTube, with Lady Gaga's Just Dance magically getting 90 million views in 24 hours at a time.
Within 24 hours. How does that happen? So, yes, even Vivo buys views. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake as fuck. And that I do mean literal. It's fake as porn. It's fake as like the fucking you see in porn. That shit is fucking fake. People don't fuck like that in real life. Come on now.
When most of the world didn't even have smartphones. Actually, if you're paying attention to this chart here, supposedly this video was uploaded in June. Notice that it gets 0 views that entire time, and then the day before Vivo launches, it gets 90 million views in a day. Vivo hadn't even gone live yet.
They weren't even live. How did they get that? It's fake. It's all fucking fake.
The same pattern of behavior can be found in a number of different videos. And I just want to point out that if this video's views were real, this means that it would have literally been a world record all the way until 2020.
You know, just when there's little contests, and this is #1, and this one wins this, and this is the band of the year and the album of the year, like, says who and why is it a contest?
So check this out. Do you mind if I explain it?
Please do.
Okay. The conversation came up with about the actual album, like, Warner Brothers was interested if we wanted to bundle it, which is when you include the record like with a ticket, right? And a lot of people have been doing it, whether you buy a t-shirt and you get a record and it's a digital download link. And I was like, well, how does that work? And I'm like, well, you would give $5 from each ticket back to Warner Brothers, and then you would get a record sale. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me and to Dan. And they're like, yeah, well, it's the only way you're gonna get a #1 record. So if you want a #1 record, you got to do that.
If you sell a CD, you're actually losing $5, and that $5 is additional $5 going to the record company. And okay, yeah, all right.
I was like, well, it's 1-to-1. Like, we get $5 back, and then we get a royalty, and we get a ticket sale. And like, no, you don't get a royalty. and you only get an album sale count if they click the link, and we have a 50% click through. So in other words, we would pay $10 per sale on Nielsen SoundScan by giving the money back that we've sold on tickets to Warner Brothers, to our record label.
Oh, that sounds fucked.
That
is scammy.
At this point,
that is a crazy deal.
Check it out. We've sold 250,000 tickets on this tour, so we would give back 1.25 million. Our record advance for this record was less than that. I was like, if Dan and I were just on our own record label, we could give ourselves $5 per ticket and count, and we just take the money from the right hand to the left hand.
Yeah.
Give you a link. If you counted it, we get the sale. We keep the money. That's basically what was going on.
Now, what never ceases to amaze me is how people can take an incredibly subjective medium like art and then state that the one that did the most in sales of all things is the objective best. As if sales numbers are anything but a vanity metric. That's not profit. Like, we know for a fact that money laundering takes place in this industry, just like every artistic medium. This is like saying that the best piece of digital art in human existence is this one NFT because one dude bought it from himself. And my point in bringing this up is that there's a story behind this. But to understand how we got to this point today, you need to understand that the Billboard charts used to be based off of jukebox play data as well as data collected from record store owners. But can you guess who had a huge hand in jukeboxes?
Oh, I wonder who. The Mafia. Rigging the charts. Okay.
They were all cash payments. They could be placed on every corner. An ideal vehicle.
That much fraud in U.S. entertainment. Oh, and I don't think it's just exclusive to U.S. entertainment, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like... Because one of the guys mentioned here, it's actually a British group. The Mecca... Did I say Mecca? Decca Records is a British record label. So it is not just America. It is globalization, man, as a thing, man. Okay. But this is nice. We're learning a lot here.
At the time to launder money. Now, out of the four big manufacturing companies for jukeboxes in America, Rockola was founded by businessman David Cullen Rockola, a mob-connected businessman who was later charged with corruption in 1929.
Okay.
AMI was run by Jake Guzik's son-in-law, Frank Garnett. That was until 1949 when it was taken.
They don't have his picture, though. I guess the FBI couldn't find that guy. I guess they couldn't find him.
Taken over by the other infamous mobster, Sam Giancana.
Many
jukebox manufacturers didn't sell to bars and clubs directly. They were sold instead to regional distribution entities. And these distribution entities would sell to operators of jukebox routes. These operators would collect the cash that would supply the records.
I gotta say again, this video is pretty damn slick. I'm liking this documentary. This barely sociable channel. Oh my God, this is
machines, and they would be responsible for the repairs and needed maintenance.
I have not seen high quality.
The mafia focused its attention at the distribution level. This gave them control over the machines where the cash was picked up, and it also gave them control over what records went inside the jukeboxes. As the 1950s would pass,
He has like a smooth voice, man. I can listen to this voice forever.
Mobsters built their empires on jukeboxes, with the Chicago outfit controlling 100,000 of the nation's 575,000 jukeboxes. As a result, this would lead to a situation sort of reminiscent to what we know today as an industry plant. If you recall, the charts were originally based on jukebox data. This now meant that all they had to do was put a new artist's records inside their machines, then simply misreport the amount of plays in the machines to instantly send a new artist to the top of the charts for as long as they wanted. Coincidentally, or perhaps a part of a grander conspiracy, during the 1950s, all of the radio stations across the nation began focusing their programming to the best music, the hits, with most major radio stations adopting the top 40 format. As author Gus Russo stated in his book, The Super Mob, it was Stein who encouraged fellow Lawndale entrepreneur William Paley to boost his new network, the Columbia Broadcasting System, by putting Stein's music acts on air live turning the rigged top 40 into a national phenomenon.
Yeah, they'll sell the records to themselves. It is a racket, okay, to boost the sales so that it makes the top 40 charts, so that it goes to the radio stations, so that the people hear that top song, so that they buy the single, so they buy the album, they buy the merchandise, they buy the tickets. It is a racket for that. Kind of smart, actually. I should be boosting my numbers. I should be boosting my numbers right the fuck now. All right. Guys, I have a plan on this channel. I'm going to do a series of horror videos. And those are going to get like some banger numbers, dude. Okay, totally legit. Too legit to quit.
Now, on a bit of a side note, regarding the statement from Russo, I'm not entirely sure where he got this bit of info. Other books I've found seem to suggest the same thing, but other sources I've found list Todd Storrs, a radio DJ from Nebraska, as the originator. Just thought I should clarify that. Continuing on. Now, despite jukeboxes falling out of favor, that didn't mean the mob couldn't still manipulate the charts. All it really took back in the day was paying off a record store owner. To quote the New York Times,
we already covered that.
Until 1991, the pop music charts were notoriously unreliable. Paying off record store employees with free albums, concert tickets, and even vacations and washing machines was the standard music business.
And washing machines? And washing... That's like our... Look at this sentence. Until 1991, the pop music charts were notoriously unreliable. Paying off record store employees... Like, okay, you're working at a record store, right? If someone comes in, they offer you a free album, concert tickets, a vacation, or even a washing machine. Okay. That seems so random.
This method of manipulating record sales figures. Even the Billboard magazine charts, considered the most prestigious in the business, were compiled from store managers' oral reports, which were inaccurate to begin with and easily swayed. As a result, this led to the introduction of the SoundScan system in 1991, which would only tally record store sales after a store clerk scanned the barcode at checkout for an album. And after that, the music industry cleaned up its act and nobody ever cheated again.
Just joking.
Kidding. Perhaps the funniest part about the SoundScan system was that data reported often had large discrepancies from the platinum certifications companies claimed. For instance, Michael Jackson's album History, when it was first released, it had been claimed 5 times platinum. But since each album included 2 CDs, each unit counted for 2. Yet despite...
Oh, really? So it was one album, but it counted for 2 sales. So it helped them in the numbers.
The SoundScan only reported
that is cheap.
1.3 million sold. These certifications were based on the amount of CDs that were shipped, not actually sold in stores, meaning that a record company could just ship a bunch of boxes to a store and that would count as a platinum record. And then after a period of time, the retailer could just return the boxes for a credit. This meant...
Holy shit. What? That doesn't make any sense. How can you be platinum for just selling or shipping the record to the store before it's even sold? That is a big fat lie. That is a giant lie. Taylor Swift, you're lying. Metallica, you lied. Think about all the other liars. All the other liars.
They could make it however many times platinum they wanted. As one article from the New York Daily News put it, the inflation of history is far from an isolated case. Often when an album by a major artist begins to slip down the charts, companies slap a gold or platinum symbol as a cover. In just the last few weeks, Warner Brothers had the Rod Stewart album, Spanner in the Works, certified gold as it plunged near the bottom of the top 200. In fact, the album has only sold 211,000 copies so far, according to SoundScan. Likewise, Columbia recently planted a platinum sticker on the Soul Asylum record, which has sold 574,000 to date. While Polygram stuck a 1 million unit insignia on Bon Jovi's These Days, even though the album only sold 357,000 units to date. Such discrepancies put Billboard in an odd position. As a trade publication, the magazine is obliged to print RIAA certifications, which often clashes with the far more accurate SoundScan data. As a result, Ellis says, it's...
You would think clashes quite a bit. Like one is an actual sell. The other is, oh yeah, we shipped it over there. It's fine.
Time for the industry.
So it's made like this on purpose to be flawed as fuck as purpose. So, and they know it's flawed. It's in its design. It isn't an accident. It is a feature. Okay.
To think about the value of those RIAA shipment figures. Now, look, I could dedicate an entire episode to explaining how artists game the charts, but for the sake of not getting too off track with this video, I want to just...
So, if you're not scamming, if you're not cheating, what's that phrase? If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. If you're not cheating, you're not winning. Is that the phrase?
Just go over a few for now. For instance, after SoundScan's introduction, record labels began holding back singles, then juicing the charts by building up radio play first. Additionally, there's stories of sweetheart deals being arranged with retailers, where they would send a bunch of discounted copies to their store, only for someone to come in that day and then just clear them all off the shelf. And then there's stories of people being paid off to run the same thing through the scanner over and over again. And there's other stories of barcodes being switched around, so then they could just redirect the sales from another popular track all into one. And lastly, the main method of gaming SoundScan back in the day was to send a bunch of copies to independent retailers. Here, each copy would be worth 3 on the charts. The idea here was to give a bunch of extra weight to independent retailers at the time because the SoundScan system hadn't rolled out across every single store yet. Then found in the documents of the Elliot Spitzer payola investigation, the documents accused Sony of keeping people on payroll to basically call in to the radio stations and make fake song requests. Then also found in these documents, it's alleged that radio stations...
You know, I wondered that too. The people who call into the radio stations, is that fake shit? And who actually calls in?
...have participated in selling spin packages. This one's really interesting. I always wondered why radio stations sometimes just play like a whole bunch of songs in quick succession during commercial break, but they'll only play like snippets and then they'll say like, you're listening to Pay 0104 or something. Now, I don't know if this is still true today, but it turns out the reason they were doing this is because airplay monitoring companies detect that the song is being played on the radio, even if it's just for a short time, and then they count that towards the charts. Well, you may have heard that people on...
Oh, even though it wasn't the full playthrough. Okay. Just another way to scam. Just another way to cheat.
And numbers don't. Just know that's...
Oh, yeah, I saw Sony there. Oh,
sometimes we don't get the full story behind those numbers. Now, before we get to this next entanglement, I need to tie up the stories with Bob Keane and Larry.
All right, we're going back to the beginning. This guy is very thorough. We started this talking about the death clause, and I feel like we've gotten so far into the weeds of this that we almost lost the plot. But maybe we haven't.
News.
I mean, it's
then
scammy.
We'll also get back to the
it's
death
a racket.
clause.
It's fucked.
Bob had claimed he'd partnered with Nunes in 1964 when he needed money, and he wrote in his autobiography, "I had wondered if I had made a deal with the devil. I had heard that Larry had a reputation for being associated with the mob, and as it turned out 3 years later, a relationship ended in deception, dishonesty, and murder. I consider myself to be very lucky to have come out of that relationship with Nunes in one piece, virtually unscathed." After Fuller's passing in 1967, Delphi had been dissolved and Bob Keane had moved on. But it's worth noting just how bad Keane had gotten burned within his relationship with not just Nunes, but also his previous financier. Before Delphi existed, there was a company called Keane Records, spelled K-E-E-N. The story behind this goes, Bob Keane was playing clarinet in several bars and clubs around Los Angeles, and one evening he met businessman John Simus, who persuaded Bob to set up a record label with him. Under this position, Keane would go on to manage Sam Cooke for 3 years, who, I should add, he also passed away under disputed circumstances as well.
Oh, really?
But soon after working with Keane, Sam Cooke came out with a record that included Summertime, and on the other side, it had You Send Me. You Send Me ended up reaching the #1 on the charts after it took off in 1957. At this point, despite Keane Records having earned over $1 million from sales from You Send Me, Bob apparently only had an oral contract with Simus. Eventually, Keane was cut out of the picture, and he was duped and received nothing and was left out in the dust.
Betrayed.
Hereafter, Keane would go on to found Delphi. Keane basically had an open-door policy for musicians to audition for him. One of the more known was Richie Valens, who after seeing short-lived success, passed away along with Buddy Holly and J.P. Richardson, and pilot Roger Peterson for reasons unknown in a plane crash after failing a takeoff. Now that being said, just because the reasons were undetermined, it's worth mentioning that the weather conditions were incredibly poor, and the pilot wasn't even made aware of the weather that they were flying into.
Wreckage?
On top of that, the pilot was 21 years old, was not instrument rated, and should not have been flying in a snowstorm. Now, as a result, Keane ended up owning Valens' legacy via his master.
That one wasn't a hit. That one was stupid. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan, that wasn't a hit. That wasn't him probably. Or was it? Oh man, what's the story of Stevie Ray Vaughan? Whose plane did he use? Eric Clapton's, right? Oh man, maybe that was a hit. Maybe it was just a thing of circumstance.
And over the course of the next half-decade with Nunes, he built up a pretty sizable catalog, including Chan Romero, Little Caesar and the Romans, Ron Holden, Johnny Crawford, Brenda Holloway, some of the first records from Frank Zappa, and the Surfaris.
Oh, it was a helicopter.
That being said, Bob Keane basically had his entire catalog stolen out from under him. As he wrote in his autobiography, I was trying to resolve the dissolution of Stereophi, and towards the end of 1970, I finally got an agreement with Larry Nunes as to who was going to get what from the company assets. I was to receive all master recordings, including my Delphi tapes, and he got 600 copyrights in the publishing division. I signed the papers and went over to the local storage facility to pick up my property. There was nothing there. Missing, presumed stolen. I don't know who got the recording equipment, but it seems that the now defunct MGM Records was figured in the deal somewhere. MCA was even selling bootleg Richie Valens albums. The Keane story seems to be corroborated by the fact that several 45s turned up in 1973 from MGM Records. However, afterwards, Keane moved on from the music business after losing basically his entire career. Now, with Keane's story out of the way, let's discuss Mr. Larry Nunes.
Okay.
He was what's known as a rack jobber. That would be a person who maintains a distribution network of retail space at various mom-and-pop shops. The purpose of this kind of distributor would be to sell cutouts and overstocks for record companies, usually titles that didn't sell well or that they had overstock of that could be sold off for pennies on the dollar. While this might seem like honest work, this job was also a front for other illegal activity. For one, cutout deals allowed record labels to bypass the artist and not pay them any royalties. And the second use case for illegal activity would be to sell.
So you're like essentially like selling like bootlegs. You know, you're okay.
Counterfeit records as well, under the cover of a cutout. As the LA Times once reported, critics of these sell-off practices have been complaining for years that record companies use the cutout and overstock designations arbitrarily to raise quick cash at the expense of the artists. They say that cutouts and overstocks often are routinely sold, bartered, or given away by the record companies to cutout distributors, favored retail accounts, and even company employees. In most cases, the artist receives no royalties. What's more, the Recording Industry Association of America, a trade group of the major record companies, contends that mass sell-offs create an atmosphere conducive to counterfeiting by providing illegal duplicators with a cover to produce large quantities of the recordings that have been sold by
Right. Because if you're going to be selling cutouts and if you're going to be selling that stuff that looks fishy and fake, other people are going to be doing that too. You know,
manufacturers as cutouts and overstocks. But in the case of Larry Nunes, what you need to know is that he was a cutout distributor who worked with two companies. One was MCA, and the other one was Roulette Records. If you recall that mysterious phone call in the middle of the night, where the road manager claimed that Bobby was going to see a girl named Melody, Larry Nunes employed Melody, and by all accounts, Melody was a lady of the night.
Oh,
my relationship with Bobby primarily was to watch him and talk to him. I was like the go-between to talk to Bobby and see what was on his mind, what bothered him and stuff like that.
Oh, how cute.
While Melody later claimed that Nunes was not mobbed up, it's also worth pointing out that Larry Nunes had signed an exclusive distribution deal with Roulette Records. That distribution deal was for the Bobby Fuller Four's last single, The Magic Touch. So following the money here, it takes us back to Roulette Records, owned by a man by the name of Morris Levy.
In a series of reports on this program, NBC investigative reporter Brian Ross has detailed several links between the mob and the songs that make the charts. And tonight, Ross has more.
This is the man federal authorities describe as the godfather of the American music business, Morris Levy, in the custody of FBI agents after his arrest just after 7 this morning at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Boston. Levy, the president of Roulette Records, is little known outside the music business, but federal authorities say Levy is as powerful as any big record company president, using his ties
He looks kind of stressed right there.
with organized crime to control record companies, record stores, and big-name performers. Also arrested along with Levy this morning were 21 others in Florida, New York, and New Jersey, indicted by a federal grand jury in Newark on racketeering and extortion charges, accused of using violence to get their way in the gambling business, the narcotics business, and the
I mean, they're going to reveal the mugshot. I don't know why they do that.
music business. United States Attorney Thomas
covering their
Grealish.
face.
A Mac 11 machine gun with a silencer is not used for target shooting.
The New Jersey mob investigation began.
It can be.
And more than 3 years ago, with a man identified by federal and state authorities as a mafia boss, Gaetano Vastola, known on the streets of New Jersey, and in the recording studio.
Oh, they're being bigots, man. Just because the name sounds like that.
Studios of Hollywood as Corky. By following Vastola.
Because his name sounds like a type of pasta. He's a mob guy. Come on.
As a mafia
What is
boss.
it? Is it the shirt? Is it what he's wearing?
Gaetano Vastola, known on the streets of New Jersey, and in the recording studios of Hollywood as Corky. By following Vastola and tapping his phone, federal agents were led to Morris Levy, to New York talent agencies, and finally to Hollywood, to the corporate headquarters of the huge entertainment conglomerate MCA, and what authorities describe as some suspicious business deals at MCA Records. The president of MCA Records, Irving Azoff, said earlier this year that his company was the victim of the mob and that MCA had done nothing wrong. But somehow, according to federal authorities, millions of MCA records by Neil Diamond, Elton John, and the rock group The Who and others ended up in the hands of mob front record company, which were going to sell the records at huge profits to record stores.
The mob showed up. The enforcers came down.
Dennis Eisman is the lawyer for a man who ran one of the mob front companies and is now a protected federal witness in the case. Eisman says his client was beaten up by the mob when he refused to pay for a large shipment of MCA records.
I think it was to show him that if he didn't pay, he was going to get hurt, maybe hurt worse. I'm not sure.
So they would show up to sell you all these extra, the overstock stuff. You got to pay. You don't pay, you're going to get hurt.
If they intended to break his jaw and fracture some bones in his face, I think it was just to show him that he couldn't not pay.
And there has been other violence in the case. Earlier this year, a New York City policeman was murdered while following one of the men involved in the MCA deal.
I kind of wonder if they even had to do all this. Could like they got busted because they got sloppy. Dude, this sounds like it was the issue with the overstock stuff and the with the practice they were using with that. Why not just be like destroy it or just get rid of it? Oh, you got to sell it, and you got to force someone to buy it. Well, okay. I mean, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Who is expected to be indicted soon by another grand jury. This indictment is the work of one of 5 grand juries now investigating organized crime in the music business. Federal sources say a grand jury in Los Angeles is investigating the role of top MCA executives in all this. Other grand juries in Los Angeles, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and New York are investigating allegations of payola the use of cash, cocaine, prostitutes,
cocaine,
and some mob-controlled promoters to get songs played on the radio. Law enforcement authorities say what's at stake in all
Does that guy know something about cocaine? Look at that nose.
these investigations is the mob stronghold
That
in the business that earns $4
cocaine.
billion a year. Brian Ross, NBC News, Newark, New Jersey.
It goes without saying that the circumstances surrounding Bobby Fuller's passing are very questionable. But it's worth pointing out that had things gone a bit differently with Bobby Fuller's mother not keeping an eye out that entire day, then it would be much harder to argue the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death. This entire situation, given the facts available, reeks of a botched, contrived accident. I think some people think that the whole Jeffrey Epstein suicided thing is just
Epstein gets mentioned.
just some one-off meme. But
no, it's not a one-off meme. No.
To let you know that this is a very real tactic used by organizations like the CIA to take out targets under secretive conditions. They quite literally wrote the book on this. For secret hits, either simple or chase, the contrived accident is the most effective technique. When successfully executed, it causes little excitement and is only casually investigated. On that note, when you understand the full potential of something like a contrived accident, it's
because people are lazy. They're lazy. They see it. They're going to go for, man, they're just going to go, they're going to take the path. They're going to take the path of least resistance.
very difficult not to be a conspiracy theorist in the music industry, especially given the fact that historically this industry has had ties to organized crime since the very beginning. And as long as humans are corrupt, I would say that those people will continue to rise to the top in those businesses, whether it be the same set of powers that be or another.
Oh, it's like past midnight, that's why.
When a contrived accident is orchestrated correctly, it can be difficult for the general public to understand what they're looking at as a hit. Oftentimes, people won't think twice to question someone who is labeled a junkie or depressed. But you should know that staging of these particular incidents is definitely a real thing that goes on. But don't take my word for it, the CIA will tell you themselves. An overdose of administered as a sedative will cause death without disturbance and is difficult to detect. The size of the dose will depend upon whether the subject has been using regularly. If not, 2 grains will suffice.
Man, I love your show. I like what you're doing. Really. Right? That's why I came here. Fresh out of jail, I'll come check you out, right?
Right.
Why the bulletproof vest?
Oh, it's not. Oh, no, that's just, it's the new style. You've been in the can for a while. This is what everybody, that's what all the talk show hosts are wearing.
This is a new thing, right?
Yeah.
See, if somebody gonna do something about it, see, technology is so high, right?
Right.
So if you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. So the kids, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out there. People sell them all the time. They got this stuff they get blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it.
Oh,
so
well, that seems
don't
bad.
That's a slow death.
Yeah.
Easy there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
Now, as you can imagine, Suge Knight's statement here obviously put him at the center of a conspiracy surrounding Eazy-E. While some people question the possibility of such a plot, others have pointed out that the rate at which Eazy-E went from being diagnosed to passing away was incredibly quickly.
That is very suspicious, isn't it? He went in with a common cough, pneumonia, which was January. Then in February, diagnosed HIV positive. Then March, full-blown AIDS and dead. What kind of doctors did he go to? Oh, what's this? Even Eazy-E's kids that were born after he died weren't positive. Their mothers weren't positive. Nobody was positive. So was Eazy-E having a bunch of gay sex? Wait. He couldn't, because if he did, and he got... Wait, back this up. Even Eazy-E's kids that were born after he died weren't positive. So the mother of the kids were impregnated before he died by him, and he dies of AIDS, but the kids don't have AIDS? So how'd that happen? When did he get the AIDS? The story of Eazy-E getting AIDS is a story that is interesting me right now. Maybe it's because of kind of sleep deprived right now. I saw in interviews with one of Eazy-E's friends saying that they're pretty sure that they knew when he got it. He went home. There's a real ratchets. So maybe after he knocked up his girl, he got the AIDS after. So yeah, he obviously got the AIDS after that. Because he had it. If he had it then, they would be positive. Or maybe somebody shot him with an AIDS bullet. Is that the idea?
Now, while various people have shared their opinions throughout the years regarding that conspiracy, what's incredibly interesting about Suge Knight's statement is that it shows a familiarity with the contrived accident. So with you getting a broader context on the music industry as well as some of its history, it should now be brutally apparent to you how little it has to do with music at all, and how much it actually has to do with crime. Within the next...
Yeah. It seems like a total racket, a total scam.
Installment of this series, we're going to be diving in further into the contrived accident and various other conspiracies that come from the music industry. But before we go, I want to ask you, the audience, a question. What contributes to the data that we saw at the start of this episode? Is it really just substance and mental illness that contributes to having your life shortened by up to 25 years? It's not like musicians are unique in this problem at all. Substance and mental illness are prevalent in all walks of life, whether you're famous, poor, whatever. Clearly,
that is a good point about substances and mental illness. Because you think about, okay, let's take the oil industry. A lot of guys working at the plants, you know what they're doing? They're doing drugs. They're doing cocaine. Okay? All right? They're doing cocaine. They're doing stimulants to keep them working. Or when they're off of work. Okay? They are using. Okay? You think they're not partying hard or using hard in their low moments, or not low moments, in their off time too? They most definitely are. Okay? But they're not dropping like flies. And you know they're probably banging some questionable hookers, some questionable hoes. Huh.
It shows us that something is seriously wrong.
What about
with this
truckers?
industry. And before we end...
What's the rate at which truckers die? Okay? All right? They use stimulants a lot. And they bang a lot of questionable things.
In this episode, I want to leave you with a clip from NPR discussing Mexico's music industry. I want you to pay attention to how different the discussion is over in Mexico.
From the year before. So my question is, are these musicians falling into what's a bigger pattern, or do you think there's something unique about the deaths of these musicians which may be attached to these cartels?
The same reason that other people are being killed in Mexico. There are entanglements. And
personal entanglements?
Sure, a lot of personal entanglements. Narcotraficantes are often funding bands, according to anybody in the music industry who you talk to. In other words, actually giving the seed money for a band to get started, to get publicity, to get a record cut, and in return for that are frequently then expecting a cut of the money. Well, money, when it's changing hands, often can lead to misunderstandings and out-and-out deceptions, and the way that drug cartels deal with those sorts of problems is not by filing lawsuits, it's by killing
violence.
people.
Yeah.
Then there's also romantic entanglements. The closer a band is with that world, the more likely that a band member might, say, catch the eye of a powerful drug lord's girlfriend or wife.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or daughter. And all of these sorts of entanglements can create, very big problems.
Now, it goes without saying that the cartel presence in...
Oh, Brucey coming in with the facts there. Educated by truckers. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mexico is far more pronounced. But it's honestly foolish to think that organized crime doesn't exist in every single society, and it's not something that really ever goes away. They say,
man, this was a great documentary. This was good. This is fantastic, man. Damn. All right, I will stream tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but it will happen. I should have a time, but it's already midnight, and so I'm not going to stream in the morning. I don't know. I'll probably stream around noon or something, okay? Maybe around 11 or noon, and it'll be a brief stream, like an hour, capping at an hour, not this 3-hour long stream. And then we're going to talk about the Ethan Ralph stuff, or it was the kill stream when the casino. Talk about that stuff. All right. With that said, you guys take it easy, and y'all have a good one.